Right here.
Republicans are going to win landslide.
Everybody wants to lose.
We've got a story to tell. We're going to go out and tell it. 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
And the president wants to say we're exactly where he wants to be? That's an insult, and it's scary if he means it.
Listen live weekdays at 9 a.m. East, or get the podcast now at BrianKilmeadeShow.com.
Now, a look at what's happening from the Fox News Rundown.
Good morning. It's Monday, September 19th. This is the Fox News Rundown. The president on CBS's 60 Minutes, which aired Sunday night, making this declaration about COVID-19.
The pandemic is over. We still have a problem with COVID. We're still doing a lot of work on it. But the pandemic is over.
More than 95.6 million cases of COVID-19 and more than 1 million victims from the invisible enemy in the 2.5 years of the pandemic, according to Johns Hopkins University. Meanwhile, it's a new work week and the president overseas.
President Biden is attending the funeral for Queen Elizabeth II with scores of foreign heads of state this morning. Midweek, the president will address the General Assembly at the United Nations, expected to focus on the global pressure campaign to end Russia's invasion of Ukraine.
A core message that I think you're going to hear from leaders across the U.S. government next week is that respect for the core principles of the international order is needed now more than ever.
National Security Council Coordinator John Kirby says the president will also lead discussions on a global fund for infectious diseases. At the White House, Jared Halpern, Fox News.
Inflation slamming most Americans. With the midterms coming up November, Republicans are pouncing on the issue.
3 out of 4 Americans say in the last 6 months, because of inflation, they have experienced a financial hardship. Times are hard because Biden continues to spend money we don't have.
South Carolina Senator Tim Scott on Sunday Night in America with Trey Gowdy. Fiona slamming Puerto Rico, knocking out power across the U.S. territory. Forecasters are worried about catastrophic flooding. It could dump up to 30 inches of rain in some parts. The island still recovering from a string of strong earthquakes, and Hurricane Maria, Category 4 storm that caused death and destruction in the island in 2018. The government of Bahamas has changed the tropical storm warning for Turks and Caicos to a hurricane warning. I'm CJ Papa on the Fox News Rundown.
This is the Fox News Rundown.
This is News Talk STL at 101.9, 94.1, and NewstalkSTL.com. The news and talk that affects St. Louis.
Can the former president have standing to say that the investigators don't even get to look at the documents?
She has been on the throne for 70 years.
I think we're in a recession.
This is 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Hey everybody, this is Paul Kurtman, host of the Paul Kurtman Show on News Talk STL, but I'm also the president of PR Kurtman Investments. The market is down and inflation is up, so if you have questions about the investments in your portfolio, please let me help. Just send me an email by visiting freedomportfolios.com. There's no cost. The market might be uncertain, but that doesn't mean you should be too. Contact me today, Paul Kurtman, by visiting freedomportfolios.com.
The St. Louis Young Republicans and 101.9 94.1 News Talk STL is proud to present the Freedom Fest Barbecue, Sunday, October 9th. Tim Jones and I will be emceeing the luncheon at the St. Louis County GOP headquarters. Adult tickets are $30, student tickets are $20, and kid tickets are $5. We will have special guests like Attorney General Eric Schmidt, Secretary of State Jay Ashcroft, State Senator Bill Eigel, and more. Stand against tyranny, strengthen the conservative movement, and enjoy tasty eats at the Freedom Fest Barbecue. For more information, visit NewstalkSTL.com.
Did you know that hepatitis C causes tens of thousands of U.S. deaths every year? Hepatitis C is the leading cause of cirrhosis and liver cancer, and the leading cause of death from liver disease. Those who have hepatitis C often don't even know it. But there is good news. Not only good, but easy. A simple blood test will tell you whether or not you have hepatitis C. If you do have it, it's curable. More than 9 out of 10 people who receive highly effective treatment are cured, and less likely to develop liver cancer or liver complications. In fact, one little blood test, and you can do your part to help eliminate hepatitis C for good. Get tested, get treated, get cured. Visit hep.org for more information.
Subscribe and watch your favorite News Talk STL shows.
Mike Ferguson in the morning, The Vic Porcelli Show, Columbo and Katie, Jones and Arps.
Webcam streaming on Facebook, Twitter, Rumble.
Subscribe and watch
News Talk STL.
Bill O'Reilly here, and I'm warming up. Stand by for the O'Reilly Update Morning Edition. But first, I am excited about a new streaming platform called VidGo. VidGo gives you the freedom to be entertained at a price you can afford. VidGo has all of my favorite live sports networks. They have a great choice of news. All of that for $59 a month. You deserve the freedom to be entertained for it. Please go to VidGo, VIDGO.com/Bill to check it out. On this Monday, I am still amazed that Vice President Harris, when on NBC News, looked into the camera and told the American people the southern border is secure. By every single measure, that is untrue. Politicians say false things all the time, but that was brazen. Now, I don't know whether Ms. Harris was intentionally lying or is just too dim to understand the situation at the southern border. That seems incredible, but why would the woman go on a national news program and mislead the entire country about the border? I can't answer that question. But even more stunning is that the interviewer, NBC's Chuck Todd, just sat there after Kamala Harris told him and everybody else that the southern border is secure. Surely Chuck Todd has to know that's false. So why would he not follow up with a question citing statistics that show it's false? Again, I can't answer that question, but the whole situation is amazing. Now this. Many timeshare owners are very upset because their yearly dues have nearly doubled. Well, Lone Star will guarantee the release of all liability to your timeshare in writing and in a specific time frame. With their A+ rating at the Better Business Bureau, clients know that Lone Star Transfer is a company you could trust. For a free consultation, please go to LoneStarTransfer.com or call 855-551-7066. That is the Morning O'Reilly Update. More analysis later on.
From the News Talk STL Weather Center.
I'm News 4 meteorologist Kristen Cornett with your first alert forecast. Partly cloudy overnight. There's a 20% chance of thunderstorms after midnight. We'll drop to 73. If any of those storms are able to develop, there's at least a low chance that a few of them could become strong to severe. For Monday, sunny, hot, 95 degrees. Tuesday, sunny and even hotter with a high of 97. If we hit it, that will tie the record high. That's your first alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Kristen Cornett.
Watch us on our live stream using Rumble, Facebook, and Twitter. Let's get the conversation started, St. Louis. This is Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
Let you with the carnal stare while you're suspect.
Missouri's legislative session continues today, talking about that special session where we're told a tax cut's going to happen, and it turns out it's not really going to be that simple. How does this affect Missouri's small businesses? You know, people say small businesses are the backbone of our economy. I think there's a lot of politicians who say that, but they don't always mean it. And so they can put up or shut up either this week or next week. We had a good chat with Brad Jones from the National Federation of Independent Businesses. He's the Missouri State Director for that organization. And, well, here's his assessment, not just on what's happening in Jefferson City, but the overall economy and what it means for small businesses in Missouri, yeah, but also around the country. Here's what he had to say. Legislature talking about tax cuts with independent businesses. I have a feeling that that sort of conversation has a direct impact on their business as well. But when you look at the economic conditions that we're all dealing with right now, inflation, fuel prices, everything, is this hitting small businesses, independent businesses any differently than the larger counterparts out there?
Well, first of all, Michael, it's good to be on with you.
Thanks, sir.
It has been a while, and always enjoy visiting with you.
Absolutely.
I'll tell you what, Mike. Here's the deal. I mean, we came out of the pandemic, right? One of the worst couple of years for small businesses that they've ever tried to navigate, and then body blow number two is we move ourselves into this economy. This, the inflation issue that we've got right now, it's a threefold issue, and I know you've talked about it on your show, but it's a threefold issue. We've had supply issues, we've got a major labor problem, and then we've got inflation. And honestly, they're all sort of intertwined, if you will, because one of the biggest problems that small business people are having right now. We've got 48%. Now, wrap your head around that, Mike. We've got 48% of our members are telling us that they have jobs that they would like to fill and they can't fill them. And so when you have a situation like that, one of the only things you can do is raise compensation and raise the cost of hiring those folks. Well, you do that, and what happens? I mean, this is classic Econ 101. If you push on the balloon one place, it's got to come out someplace else. And where it's coming out is in inflation, and it's coming out of all of our pocketbooks when you're looking at, 7, 8, 9% inflation. And not only that, for a small business person, that means that, all of the products that they buy and sell, their energy. I mean, think about also what's gone on with gas prices. Let's say you've got a business that's heavily reliant on deliveries. Man, you talk about taking it. So, it's been a whole combination of things. And of course, NFIB has been doing this small business optimism index for since 1973. And there's a question on there that says, do you think the conditions will get better over the next 6 months? And that actually went up in August. And I've been trying to figure out why that would have gone up. And the black humor of that may be that our small business people are saying, how in the world could it get worse? Maybe we've hit the bottom here, and it's just got to get better in the next 6 months.
How does that optimism index compare to what's the long term? I mean, is it kind of where the norm is? Is it lower than usual? Is it higher than usual? Where is it, compared to the historic levels?
Oh, it's lower than it's at a 48-year low, Mike. It is. I don't think it has been this low since the fourth quarter of 1979. I think. So even though we did have one little uptick in August, it is still absolutely is historically low. I mean, it's at 91.8, which doesn't mean anything to your listeners, but it's the way it's calculated. This is the 8th consecutive month below the 48 year average of a 98. So, the last the last almost 2.5 years, it has absolutely been in the tank.
Brad, you noted that a lot of these factors are intertwined. The labor shortage, the supply shortages, all those things are kind of coming together in a perfect storm. What's in your view, the key to unraveling that and getting us back on the right track?
Man, I wish I was that smart. Because that is the question, isn't it? I mean, I'm somewhat. I feel a little bit better. It looks like that the number of unemployment claims is going down. So that would indicate to me that maybe more people are starting to get into the workforce. That, I think, is really going to be important, because right now we're seeing small business people having to pay compensation. And you guys know it. I mean, all you got to do is wander around St. Louis and look at what starting wages are. Even at convenience stores, or not to mention, what restaurants and stuff are having to pay. But if you look at this, the fact that you've got shortages of some of the products that you may be selling, or especially for a small manufacturer, getting all of the component parts that they might need to make something, and they're going up, then you're in a situation where you're also looking to hire people. It all kind of works together. You're right. A perfect storm is a perfect way to explain it, because there ain't nothing good going down this road. And I would like to think that if we can start to work on this on the labor end of it, that it will eventually, those the wages and everything will have to level out, and we may see at least a flattening instead of an increase in the inflationary problem. And the Fed is throwing in too. I mean, they're trying to throw a little cold water on the thing too, and it looks like maybe there is an indication that that's helping a little bit. But that comes with its own problems. Then you're talking about interest rates going up, and you've got a huge housing market out there that's in a real strange place right now. So these are strange times in which we're living, kids. I'm telling you.
Yeah, Brad Jones is with the National Federation of Independent Business, where he's the Missouri State Director. Brad, I just got a minute or so left here. How closely are small businesses, independent businesses in Missouri watching this special session in Jeff City when they're talking about tax cuts and, the first partial week, no deal so far, but is there anything specific that your members are watching for?
Well, you got to remember, Mike, when you do anything with the individual income tax, you're also affecting the pass-through small businesses. So your sub-S's and your partnerships that run, they're accounting through the individual income tax. They're very much watching it, and you've probably got well more than half of all the small businesses that are organized that way. LLCs is the other one. So yeah, we're watching it very close. Right now, it looks like we have several ideas and no consensus. So next week, we'll be watching this situation pretty close. The business income deduction would be great if they could add that in with, the individual income tax. That would be the best of everything. But I think that they will come up with some kind of a plan that is going to be a benefit to all Missourians. That is my altruistic goal, I guess, to see that small businesses can get help, and the rest of us, because we're sitting on a lot of money here in Jeff City.
All right,
it's not our money. It's not our money.
Exactly. All right, Brad, what's the website or social media?
We are NFIB.com, and I would encourage any of you small business folks out there that are not members, you can go to NFIB.com. Lots and lots of information about small business on our website.
We've got the news roundup coming your way in just about 4 minutes. And in the 7 o'clock hour, State Senator Bob Onder is going to be with us, and he's going to give us an update on what's actually happening in the state capitol as they go into the second week of this special session, because they could not get a deal done on taxes. last week. So we'll talk about that with him a little bit later on. But just ahead is the news roundup.
Watch us on our live stream using Rumble, Facebook, and Twitter. For podcast articles and more, find us on NewstalkSTL.com. What's happening today? Here's your first dose of the news you need to know. This is Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
Columbo and Katie.
Monday marks 50 days to the midterm elections. Unbelievable. It's going to be here before you know it. Tune in and Katie and I will get you all the news and info you need to start your week.
Weekdays at 2
on News Talk STL.
Hi, I'm Jen Wallner.
And I'm Rodney Wallner with the Wallner Home Selling Team at Berkshire Hathaway.
Hey, Rodney, how do you sell your home for top dollar?
That's easy. Call the Wallner Home Selling Team at 314-810-SOLD.
What if I want a flexible commission rate?
Call the Wallner Home Selling Team at 314-810-SOLD.
When's the best time to sell your home?
Right now. Call the Wallner Home Selling Team at 314-810-SOLD.
For all your real estate needs, call the Wallner Home Selling Team at 314-810-SOLD.
That's 314-810-SOLD.
Stay top of mind with your customers, stand out from the competition, and drive productivity with a podcast for your business from Epic STL Podcasts. Log on to NewstalkSTL.com and click on the Epic STL Podcast button to learn more.
Columbo and Katie.
I think America is progressive enough that we would be more than happy to put a woman in the White House. It's got to be the right woman. As a woman, I am not just going to pick you because you are my same gender. If it's a man and a woman, if you don't have the credentials, if you don't have the values and the morals that I believe in, and the man does, that's what I'm going to pick. We just haven't presented the right woman in America to be put up on the presidential stage.
Tony Columbo, Katie Fitzpatrick. Weekdays at 2
on News Talk STL.
Hey guys, Columbo here, reminding you that if you belong to an organization like a school or a church, or your kids are part of a group or a sports team that needs to raise money, there's no better way to do so than with a TJ's Pizza fundraiser. TJ's Pizza has been helping local organizations raise money for over 30 years to the tune of tens of millions of dollars. A local company helping local people, and there's lots of different ways TJ's can help you raise big money fast. Get started now at tjspizza.com.
Decision 22 News.
Inflation, gas prices.
Decision 22 Analysis.
The things the American people want to hear about.
Decision 22 Opinion.
Same old tired talking points.
In St. Louis, Decision 2022 happens right here. News Talk STL. Talk lines are open now at 314-912-1019. Having your first cup of coffee? Mike's on his third. This is Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
Good news, bad news type of situation of the different things happening. They're just kind of rising to the top of my radar screen on this Monday morning. St. Louis drops from number 1 to number 2 on a national ranking, but that's actually a step in the right direction. Ken, I'm going to tell everybody about that here in just a minute or so. Also, the humanitarian crisis in Martha's Vineyard. Yeah, it's over. It's over.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah, it is, because the limousine liberals decided to push the illegal immigrants off on somebody else. Pretty much exactly what we thought they would do.
And you know what? It's so true what happened. And they're such hypocrites.
Oh, my goodness, yes. Yeah, but I've got a bigger question. We'll talk about this in the 6 o'clock hour. Paul Kurtman's going to be with us. He's in for Gabe today. Gabe's still, his secret mission has been extended for a week. So Paul is going to be here. I actually think that this is affecting public opinion. Public perception.
Oh, I believe
think.
So.
I mean, while media calls this a media stunt or a publicity stunt or playing with people's lives, I think that what Greg Abbott and Ron DeSantis are doing is absolutely having a powerful effect. And I honestly did not expect that. at all. I thought it would just be more fuel to the fire for both the right and the left. And I think across the country, people are saying, "Whoa, you mean if you put this on my doorstep, I would have to deal with this? I can't just leave that in those red states?"
Yeah, it surprised me, Mike. The raw idea of what they did, I thought it would be just blow off. But when people look at it and they look at it through realistic terms, they see nothing but hypocrisy.
Right. Yeah, that and that the illegal immigration thing is not just in the ether. This is a very, very real human problem that is brought on by terrible policy in politics.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think we got a lot to talk about on that. Also, we've got an update on the mess that is the Republican Party in the Missouri legislature. I said what I said. And whether or not we're actually going to get a tax cut. I read about that's in the Republican Party platform, but we'll see whether it actually happens at this time that the state of Missouri actually has record government revenues. And they're still trying to figure out whether or not to give us peasants a little bit of our own money back, especially when those revenues are coming from irresponsible federal spending.
Talk about having some unintended consequences. If they don't do that, people are going to be angry. As we absolutely should. We're going to talk to Senator Bob Onder. Our good friend Bob Onder is going to be with us right around 7:05. It is 5:52 right now. That's Ken Williams over there. I'm Mike Ferguson. Okay, so according to the Metropolitan Crime Commission, St. Louis City is no longer the number one murder capital in the United States per capita. Oh, yay.
Yeah, yay. We're number 2.
Oh, okay.
So New Orleans became more violent per capita than us as of the statistical period that ended on, mid-September, just a little bit ago last week. So it's not to say that we can't bump back up to number 1, but for quite a while, St. Louis, and I don't know how many people realize this, per capita, meaning per population, when you look at the number of murders per population,
right,
St. Louis was the number 1 most violent, deadly city in America. It's hard for us to think of that because this is our community, but that's actually where we were. But number 2 isn't exactly something to sing about. But
number 10 wouldn't be anything
number
to sing
10
about.
would not be something to sing about either. But that's where it's at. So St. Louis right now is at 45 homicides per 100,000 residents. That makes us per capita worse than Baltimore and Chicago. Unreal.
Per capita.
Not total number, because those cities are much, 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 much bigger, obviously. All right, speaking of local crime, St. Louis police actually let media in to see the footage of the security camera footage of that North City police-involved shooting that happened, about a week ago or so. So far, media is reporting that the video initially seems to back up the police report of what happened. There are still questions about some things, but the initial reporting says that it backs up what the police are saying. So we'll get into that.
Well, that's good to hear.
Yeah, we'll get into that right around 6:35 or so. Here's an interesting situation here. A judge had to decide between a dispute between the city of Wildwood and the Monarch Fire Protection District, and this is over a proposed new fire station in Wildwood. Because remember, I was was it 2 years ago, something like that? This fire district approved a bond issue to build a new fire district, fire station to replace fire station number 2. Well, the city of Wildwood didn't like the plan, and so they pushed back, and they've gone back and forth, and so the judges decided that yes, the fire department can build station number 2. It's going to take about a year. They're going to try to break ground this fall. It'll take about a year, but the city, there were some things like, for instance, they didn't like where it was because they were worried about response time, saying you're setting yourself up to run through rush hour traffic. If you have to go through main thoroughfares, it should be somewhere else. And so it was just one of those back and forth, but a judge has decided that the fire station can go where the fire department wants it to be. So look for that to be breaking ground, probably within the next month or so, because they've already got the land, got the plan. They just now are going to move forward with it. Good. All right, thousands of mourners are at Westminster Abbey right now saying goodbye to Queen Elizabeth. Reporting from London, Fox News' Amy Kellogg has more.
London is in all but lockdown for the final farewell to Queen Elizabeth II. Westminster Abbey has opened up for those 2,000 guests, mostly, of course, VIPs, sheikhs, sultans, kings, queens, princes, and prime ministers, but also some members of the public who were involved in charities have been invited, other people involved in public good.
Okay, so the coffin containing the remains of the Queen has been taken through London, or will be taken through London to the Wellington Arch before being taken to a hearse and then taken to Windsor Castle and the cemetery there, where she will be laid to rest finally. And I obviously I'm not vested in the royal family or anything like that, and I don't get the UK's affection for it, but I've been watching some of the proceedings this morning and over the weekend, and I got to tell you, there is something very, very touching and moving about the reverence that most of the country, most of the UK, in fact, are having for this queen. It's actually been it's been very, very sweet.
Yeah, it's been a nice departure of what we've been going through on a daily basis.
Yeah.
When you watch it, you think, okay, I think I'm going to go ahead and sit here for a little while and see what else happens. I mean, it is very all the pomp and circumstance that makes you think, there's still some of that left.
Yeah.
I think that's one thing a lot of people get out of it.
Well, in Europe, overall, clings to history and tradition more than the United States does. We tend to be thinking what's ahead, what's next, what's new, what's future. We think future in a lot of ways, whereas Europe still very, very much embraces the past, and that's what you're seeing. So, if you see it, on your video screen, watch the clips of it. It's really interesting and very, very touching as well. Cardinals split their series with the Reds over the weekend. Obviously, you have heard by now that Albert Pujols hit number 698.
Yep.
Cardinals are off today. It is a travel day. Actually, had some cousins come in town just to see the games.
Yeah.
I was supposed to have dinner with them, and they said, hey, we got tickets to the evening game. Breakfast or nothing, dude. I hadn't seen them in 10 years. But I fully respect their priorities on that. Absolutely. Go to the game.
See a part of history.
And they saw 698. It was a lot of fun. All right, just ahead here. Honest elections. What do we need to do with the right policy for that?
News Talk STL is proud to have Doug Voss of Safe Money Radio as part of our lineup each week. Doug has been a staple on St. Louis radio for many years as one of the leading financial experts in the area. You can hear Doug and Safe Money Radio 3 times every weekend on News Talk STL. But in case you miss anything, you can check it all out at DougVossSafeMoneyRadio.com. What else do our listeners need to know, Doug?
Simply put, I focus on helping pre-retirees and retirees build, preserve, and protect retirement assets, and I've been helping my clients solve their insurance and financial needs for the past 33 years. I also strive to educate my clients on how to prepare for retirement, minimize the impact of market volatility on their assets, and deal with the challenges of increased longevity. Call me today at 844-676-SAFE. That's 844-676-7233.
Doug Voss is a registered representative. Securities offered through DHL Securities LLLP, member FINRA and SIPC.
Are you looking for the cheapest prices on car insurance? Then call the Cheap Car Insurance Hotline right now. Hey, you're guaranteed to save money on your car insurance. Most car insurances can be canceled at any time. That means if you find a better deal, you can switch right away. We're not just one company. We offer most of the major brands of car insurance. We're like a discount supermarket for car insurance. And it doesn't matter if you have a good record or a bad driving record. Our agents are experts at finding you the right car insurance for your needs. Our average customer saves hundreds of dollars a year when they call us to switch. So why don't you make this 100% free call right now and see how much you can save on your car insurance. Paid for by AIS Insurance.
800-721-5741. 800-721-5741. 800-721-5741. That's 800-721-5741.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green.
This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at NewstalkSTL.com.
Breaking news this hour from townhall.com. I'm Rich Thomason. London's majestic Westminster Abbey, scene of a state funeral for Queen Elizabeth II. Presidents and kings, princes and prime ministers all gathering to bid a final farewell to the only monarch that so many Britons ever knew. The Dean of Westminster, the Very Reverend David Hoyle, leading mourners in prayer and reflection on the Queen's remarkable life.
We remember her unswerving commitment to a high calling over so many years as Queen and head of the Commonwealth. With admiration, we recall her lifelong sense of duty and dedication to her people.
It is a day that's packed with events in London and Windsor as Great Britain remembers the Queen. Hurricane Fiona has clobbered Puerto Rico, knocking out the island's power grid before turning its fury on the Dominican Republic.
City workers in Loíza drove through neighborhoods telling residents to evacuate. Hurricane Fiona unleashed floods and landslides in Puerto Rico, where the governor says the damage is catastrophic, and authorities say the storm is still expected to unleash torrential rains across Puerto Rico today, possibly dumping some 30 inches in the eastern and southern regions. The National Weather Service in San Juan says flooding has reached historic levels. I'm Donna Warder.
Ukraine says a Russian missile struck just yards from a nuclear power plant in the country's south. However, the Ukrainians say the plant's reactors were not impacted. Stock futures sharply lower this morning on Wall Street. The Dow futures down 256 points. NASDAQ futures are off 105 points. More on these stories at townhall.com.
My brother-in-law died suddenly, and now my sister and her kids have to sell their home. That's why I told my husband we could not put off getting life insurance any longer. An agent offered us a 10-year, $500,000 policy for nearly $50 a month. Then we called SelectQuote. SelectQuote found us identical coverage for only $19 a month, a savings of $369 a year.
Whether you need a $500,000 policy or a $5 million policy, SelectQuote could save you more than 50% on term life insurance. For your free quote, call SelectQuote at 1-800-940-6161. That's 1-800-940-6161. Or go to SelectQuote.com. That's 1-800-940-6161. SelectQuote. We shop. You save. Full details on example policies at SelectQuote.com/commercials.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Traffic Center.
Shoto is blocked off west of Truman Parkway due to a structure fire at Vin Dissette. 270 eastbound at New Florissant. They've already got the right lane closed for construction work this morning. Otherwise, all quiet. No major incidents or accidents so far. This report sponsored by Blindster. Save big on new blinds at Blindster.com. Custom-made blinds, shades, and shutters shipped directly to you at prices less than the big box retailers. Shop Blindster now and save 45% off any order. Just use the code RADIO. Offer ends soon, so shop today at Blindster.com. I'm Joe Sonderman from the NewstalkSTL Traffic Center.
From the NewstalkSTL Weather Center.
I'm News 4 meteorologist Kristen Cornett with your first alert forecast. Partly cloudy overnight. There's a 20% chance of thunderstorms after midnight. We'll drop to 73. If any of those storms are able to develop, there's at least a low chance that a few of them could come strong to severe. For Monday, sunny, hot, 95 degrees. Tuesday, sunny and even hotter with a high of 97. If we hit it, that will tie the record high. That's your first alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Kristen Cornett.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Stifel, serving investors for over 130 years. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Mike Ferguson here. Retirement should be a time you can relax. No more stress from work. But there's one thing you can't forget about when retiring. That's your money. Do you have enough saved to fund your income for life and keep up with inflation? How will you claim your Social Security benefits? And what about long-term care? The ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel is here to help answer all of these questions. You can hear their latest views on the markets and investing during On the Money, hosted by Stifel financial advisors Bob Stockdale and Eric Robert every every Saturday morning at 9 right here on News Talk STL. They can help you get organized, guide you through critical retirement decisions, and create an investment portfolio designed around your needs. To schedule your free retirement plan consultation, go to clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com, or call 636-695-2650, 636-695-2650. Stiefel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
Free speech is alive and well in America.
Sometimes it's hard to know what's real and what isn't.
Right here.
The country is heading in the wrong direction under this president. We're suffering shortages. America's running out of everything.
News Talk STL. News, analysis, opinion. Mike Ferguson.
Just because you're offended, it doesn't mean you're right.
Gabe Pfeiffer.
I love Jesus. He was my superhero.
Get up! Get up! Can't you hear the alarm? Twitter is like being able to read every toilet wall in the world.
Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
Get up! Get up! This is your cousin
Here we are, less than 2 months away from the midterm elections. What better time to talk about the question, are your elections secure? Meaning, is your vote being counted and no votes being counted that should not be counted? Because frankly, if you think about it, that could negate your vote, whether you're Republican, Democrat, Independent, or anything else. I'm Mike Ferguson. Let's hit some of those big questions about elections and how we should reform them in order to make sure that we have the most honest, representative elections that we possibly can. And I'm joined now by Jason Sneed, who is the executive director of the Honest Elections Project. And Jason, first of all, welcome to the program. Thanks for being on the show. And let's start with the bigger question is, obviously elections are coming up, and I hear people say, these are the most important elections of my lifetime. I argue that every election is the most important because it's about the future, but we have a lot of questions over what is and is not fairness in elections. And it seems pretty straightforward, but it's not really a straightforward discussion or debate right now.
Well, first of all, thanks for having me on the program. It's wonderful to be here. And, you're absolutely right. This is one of those conversations which really shouldn't even be that much of a debate. It shouldn't be that contentious. Almost every American outside of the political bubble of Washington, D.C., just wants elections that are free and fair, where it's easy to vote and hard to cheat. So you've got access to the ballot. You've got rules that provide safeguards and protections against fraud. And you're following those rules from the beginning of the process to the end of the process. But unfortunately, we find ourselves in this really unique moment in American history where we've got two fundamentally different views of what constitutes a fair election, particularly when you look at the way that a lot of folks on the left look at this issue, where they perceive any rule that is designed to improve the integrity of the process, bring regularity to the process, as a barrier to voting, and go after those laws in court and attack them in public. It's really unfortunate because, as I said, 90+% of Americans just want it to be easy to vote and hard to cheat. This really shouldn't be that contentious, but like so much of politics these days, it unfortunately is.
I want to get into some of those specific controversies in just a couple of minutes, Jason, but let me kind of divert for a moment. The state of Alaska, one of the most recent to institute what some people call instant runout voting or ranked choice voting, where you say, this is my number one candidate, my number two candidate, my number three candidate, and then they have a process of, if nobody gets 50% of number one votes, then whoever was number three or four, then their votes are dispersed and reorganized. And it's kind of a new thing. Some cities are doing this as well. What's your take on ranked choice voting? Because it did result in a surprise in Alaska, but everybody was playing under the same rules.
Well, that's right. So ranked choice voting is a new idea. I actually am not a fan of ranked choice voting. I think that it adds a great deal of complexity and uncertainty to the voting process. And there are a lot of negatives that come along with ranked choice voting. So Alaska, you're right, just adopted this in a referendum in 2020 and just held its first election, which was a congressional special election. The results were unusual, right? The seat that was being filled in Congress had been held by a Republican for a long time, several decades. And out of nowhere, a Democratic candidate came in, and on the strength of second place votes for the third place candidate, wound up actually prevailing in the election. And if that sentence doesn't make sense to you or to your listeners, you're not alone, because ranked choice voting, as I said, is really an unnecessarily complicated system. And I'm happy to get into some of the particulars about how it works, but suffice to say, voters wind up having to vote for multiple people in the same election. There are a series of tabulations, and then you wind up with a result that doesn't necessarily reflect what the results would be in a traditional election.
We are visiting with Jason Sneed from the Honest Elections Project. There was a bill in Congress proposed many months ago that's kind of dropped off the news radar. It was basically the federal takeover of elections. I believe it was SB 1 that was listed. Is there an update on that, which would apply, basically federal under the guise of civil rights, federal rules for all states on elections?
Well, you're right. That bill, HR 1 and S1, really was in a single piece of legislation, a federal takeover of elections. This was a highly partisan bill. And even though it was sold to the American public as something to respond to the events of 2020 with questions about the legitimacy of the presidential election and so forth, it's important to note that these two bills had been introduced in previous Congresses. And the reason for them to exist has sort of changed as time goes on. So they were originally actually introduced about 3 years ago, and then it was to prevent Russian collusion. Then in 2020, it was introduced, and it was supposed to prevent problems with voting during the COVID pandemic. And then after the 2020 elections, it was to make sure that we can, ensure that we don't have voter suppression laws sweeping the country as states started to step up and pass new election integrity laws to bring voter ID and process improvements and clean voter rolls and so forth to their states. So the reason for this particular law has shifted with time as the political narrative has changed. And you've always got to wonder if the same answer is always being proposed no matter what the problem is. Are you really trying to tackle the problem, or are you trying to push an agenda? Now, fortunately, those two bills currently are dead in Congress. They actually tried to blow up in the Senate the filibuster in order to pass it, but that did not succeed. Now, there is one more potential opportunity for them to try in Congress to push this takeover with the upcoming debate over the Electoral Count Act, which is a very narrow bill that just really deals with how Congress counts electoral votes for the president. But we're watching very closely to see if folks in Congress also treat this as an opportunity to shoehorn some of these other measures in that would, for instance, restrict states from requiring photo ID to vote, something which over 80% of Americans support, or push more people towards mail-in voting, which, again, a majority of Americans do not think is the right direction to go when we're talking about how to conduct elections. So fortunately, that effort so far has stalled, but it could rear its ugly head at any time.
Jason, we've got about 2 minutes left here in this discussion. Well, you mentioned the COVID and the COVID era, and a lot of things changed in some states, increased mail order voting, allowance of drop boxes, things like that. Now that states are responding with more voter requirements as far as photo ID, voting in person, things like that. What about the efforts to push back against, say, the elimination of drop boxes, where somebody can just drop off a ballot and or they can collect ballots from some places and bring them in themselves? Because that's still actually used in some states, but a number of states are getting rid of that at this point.
Well, that's right. Some states are moving away from drop boxes. Other states are just providing some very common sense and straightforward regulations for drop boxes. One of the things that we saw in 2020 was that states that had never used drop boxes for mail ballots suddenly started using them en masse, and it was sort of the Wild West. This was the case in Georgia, for instance. And what the Georgia legislature did this year was say, look, if we're going to use drop boxes, they're going to be monitored, they're going to be secured properly, they're going to be rolled out across the state evenly, so you don't have, for instance, Atlanta with a drop box on every corner and then other more rural counties with no drop boxes whatsoever. We're going to bring some evenness to the state, and we're going to make sure that these boxes are available during routine hours, so you can't use them at 2 o'clock in the morning. And that has been, I think, attacked pretty much consistently on the left as a restriction on voting, when really it's just another one of these common sense safeguards that Americans generally find to be very popular, to make sure that you're bringing transparency to the process and giving voters confidence that only lawful ballots are being cast.
Okay, there's a lot of positions that you've got on your website at the Honest Elections Project. So let us know where you are online, and do you have a social media presence? Where can people find you? Because people are going to have questions and people are going to agree, they're going to disagree. A lot of room for conversation here.
Well, I'm always open for that conversation. And so I do encourage folks to check us out at honestelections.org. That's our website. And we do have a presence on Twitter and Facebook at Honest Elections, where you can see all the latest stuff that we're working on and get our take on all the latest election news in America.
All right, Jason, thanks for the time.
Thank you very much.
So many different ways that we can talk about making our elections more secure. You know what, on the Missouri side, the laws that were passed in the last session, pretty good. Getting rid of drop boxes, getting rid of mail-in voting, at least most of it, requiring photo ID. All of these things are going to make the elections more secure. And yes, my Democratic friends, those of you who are listening, this is more secure for you too. If your candidate's actually going to win, this is actually going to be good for the process itself for everybody, because it just should simply be neutral. Pretty simple. You agree? You disagree? We got time to talk about it. 314-912-1019. This is 1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Try to make me stop, no inspiration. You have a soul so dark, it is no more. And all at once depart, no destination. You're making cold my heart to fight your
Watch us on our live stream using Rumble, Facebook, and Twitter. For podcast articles and more, find us on NewstalkSTL.com.
before you blow us all away.
Get up, St. Louis. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning. Made in St. Louis for St. Louis. It's News Talk STL.
You want to give me more information
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Traffic Center.
A decent morning going so far. All our volume looks pretty light. 55 north still okay in the construction zone in South St. Louis. Bridge complex headed for the Poplar downtown is okay. We do have some restrictions on Choteau west of Truman Parkway. We've had a pretty big fire there overnight. It's a structure fire. This report sponsored by Blindster. Need new blinds or shades? Blindster.com offers custom-made blinds, shades, and shutters shipped right to you at prices less than the big box retailers. Blindster blinds, easy to install and guaranteed to fit. Don't overpay for new blinds. Shop today and save big at Blindster.com. I'm Joe Sonderman from the News Talk STL Traffic Center.
If you are on Medicare, you need to listen to this message. Open enrollment for all Medicare participants starts October 15th. This is a very critical time of the year for you to make needed changes to your plan.
This is Mike Butts with MB Health Insurance Agency. Regardless if you are new or renewing your health insurance, the process can be confusing and very time-consuming. MB Health is local here in St. Louis, and we will handle your enrollment quickly, properly, and effectively. Find us on the web at mbhealth.com.
MB Health can also help small businesses find the perfect medical coverage for their employees. That's mbhealth.com. Have you been floored? Not until you've gone to Michael's Flooring Outlet. They've been a locally owned and operated family business for more than 28 years. You want variety? Michael's has carpet, hardwood, laminate, ceramic tile, luxury vinyl, natural stone, and many other options. Save money and get quality at Michael's. Plus, your installation will be done right the first time when you hire the experts at Michael's. You can shop in store at one of their 3 convenient locations or shop from home. Check out everything that Michael's has to offer at igotfloored.com.
Hey folks, here's great news for active aging seniors. The Canega Watch.
The only medical alert smartwatch with built-in fall detection. Yeah, the Kanega watch is much different than the other guys. It's a stylish, discreet watch you can wear all the time. Get help through the watch in one of 3 ways. Your voice, pushing the watch's alert button, or have the fall detection connect you to a U.S.-based 24/7 monitoring center who'll speak to you through your watch and can send help to your GPS location nationwide. And get this, it can do that even if you're not responsive. This is true 24/7 peace of mind for you and those that love you. Order your Kanega watch with a full refund 30-day trial period. Call now. 800-413-7152. 800-413-7152. 800-413-7152. That's 800-413-7152.
I'm Susie Moore, and this is More to the Point. It's easy to get discouraged by all the negative news we're bombarded with on a regular basis. As someone who basically swims in it, I can definitely attest to that. Though I'm an optimist by nature, the cynicism, if not outright pessimism, are constantly trying to crash that party. I don't mean to harp on it, but these days, too much of that perspective is shaped by what we see, read, and hear online. I'm not advocating tuning it all out. That would, of course, not be in my best interest career-wise, and also render us blind to some tough realities. What I am advocating is not letting that be the sole or even primary source of data we intake. I was lucky enough this past weekend to get to take in both a Cardinals baseball game and a Mizzou football game, as well as spend time with family and beloved friends. And one thing that being out in the warm sun and fresh air and among the cheering and lively crowds reinforced to me was this. Despite all the things that aren't right in this world, a lot of things still are. America's greatest asset is its people, the vast majority of whom love this country and the freedoms it affords us. That's a perspective worth holding on to.
Susie Moore is Deputy Managing Editor for RedState.com. For more to the point and everything Susie Moore, log on to RedState.com. Follow Susie on Twitter @SmoozyQ and keep listening to 1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL. St. Louis's new choice for conservative talk.
We need change in our country right now.
Live and local.
They clubbed us over the head for 2 years.
Yep. You want corruption? This is how we get corruption.
This is News Talk STL. This hour of Mike Ferguson in the Morning is brought to you by Stifel. Request a portfolio review from your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com. Talk lines are open now at 314-912-1019. Get up. It's Mike Ferguson in the Morning, made in St. Louis for St. Louis. It's News Talk STL.
The week ahead. Monday, President Biden and First Lady Jill Biden will be among the dignitaries attending the state funeral for Queen Elizabeth II. The funeral is expected to be the most-watched event in history. Wednesday, the Federal Reserve Board ends its monthly two-day meeting and could announce another increase in its benchmark interest rate. The Fed has said it will raise the rate until it feels inflation has been brought under control. Thursday, fall officially arrives with the autumnal equinox, marking the point when the number of daylight and nighttime hours are nearly equal. The sun will also begin rising later and setting earlier. Saturday is National Public Lands Day, commemorating the importance of public lands for those who enjoy outdoor recreation such as fishing, camping, and observing wildlife. It's also National Hunting and Fishing Day, recognizing sportsmen and women for their contributions to the nation's sport heritage and natural resources. And that's a look at your week ahead. I'm Rich Dennison, Fox News.
Okay, Paul Kurtman in for Gabe Pfeiffer today. We're going to talk about the economy and that interest rate and the spending right around 650, since you've got some experience with this.
Can't wait.
Yeah, so we're going to do that. I'm Mike Ferguson. It is 6:23. Like I said, Paul Kurtman in for Gabe Pfeiffer today. Ken Williams is here. The humanitarian crisis is over in Martha's Vineyard, guys.
Thank God.
Oh,
thoughts and prayers to the residents of
yes,
Martha's Vineyard.
Absolutely. They were enriched by the illegal immigrants that they say that they support so much for 40 some hours, and then they're like, out of here, get get these people out of here. They can't even afford a Lexus. I mean, just no, not at all.
I thought it was interesting. All the first initial interviews from every person on Martha's Vineyard who would talk, they were saying, oh, yes, we're going to take care of each and every one of them. We're going to make sure that they're comfortable. We're going to make sure that they are well on their way to doing what they have to do to become citizens of this country.
Somewhere else.
That was the funny thing is that they didn't say that, but it was like, okay, but not there.
Right.
Okay, gotcha.
And you imagine, you saw, can you only imagine their faces when the buses pulled up? They're like, there's tens of them. There's tens of them. Oh my goodness, tens of them. Another, and they don't have, what do we do? And immediately they're saying, well, we're not equipped for this. They need to go somewhere else. And that was the thing, is all they could think of is somewhere else. And where they ended up going was, let me bring it up again here. It was Cape Cod, a military base at Cape Cod. Do you remember which one? Do you know that one?
Oh, I'm not sure which base that is.
That is, I'm sorry, yes, Joint Base Cape Cod is where they ended up going. So 125 National Guard troops were activated to come save Martha's Vineyard from the...
Wait, whoa. How many?
125.
Okay. Now, from what I remember, Trump was being accused of using the National Guard for the southern border unnecessarily back in the day. And then Abbott was accused of using the National Guard when he shouldn't have for his border recently. How can they get away with that?
125 National Guard soldiers to take care of 50
men, women, and children.
Men, women, and children.
Yes.
At Martha's Vineyard.
Yeah, or at least they were involved in the process somehow. So from start to finish,
wow,
with the other buses.
You can get upset. These liberals like to get upset for other people, other governors, activating the National Guard to literally secure an actual border.
Right.
But you land 50 people, men, women, and children, in their subdivision, and suddenly we need call out the troops. They're going to be making calls for the Marines to come out next.
The lady, the lady who runs one of the places, I guess, for immigrants there, they actually have a place there, said we just don't have the room for these people. Yeah. Now, keep in mind, Martha's Vineyard takes in over 200,000 tourists a year. Now, where they go, I don't have any idea, but that's a lot of room.
I saw a chat thread between people of Martha's Vineyard. There's like a Facebook community group or something. I don't know what it is. And it's really interesting. Somebody had taken some screenshots and published it, and I don't know if you guys saw this.
I saw it. Yep.
They're going at, like, people are attacking each other. They're like, well, you have two homes. And someone's like, yeah, but I don't want them in my homes.
They might be dirty.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't come from a fancy place. Do we even know anything about their family? They didn't say that stuff, but that was basically the vibe.
Right.
We just want a virtue signal. We don't actually want to live with the consequences of the policies that we were pushing and paying for through our campaign contributions.
And all the virtues without any of the mess.
This is the problem with the left, like the socialists, right? That's why same thing you have in Hollywood. The rich need to pay their fair share. Well, they were all fine with paying more in taxes, but they're not going to do it until the government forces all of us to do it.
So Senator Ted Cruz is on Hannity's show talking about this, and he draws a very, I think, poignant comparison.
To put it in perspective, Martha's Vineyard is a town, its population is about 17,000. The median home price is over $1 million. Let's compare it to Del Rio. Del Rio is a wonderful town in Texas. It's down on the Rio Grande Valley. It has a population of between 30 and 35,000. In one single day at Del Rio, there were 15,000 illegal immigrants, mostly Haitians, crossing illegally in one day. As you know, I went down to the bridge and I videoed over 10,000 illegal immigrants under that bridge. Martha's Vineyard lost their mind with 50, and the little town of Del Rio and towns all up and down the Rio Grande Valley are dealing with hundreds or dealing with thousands. Let me say, Sean, I commend Greg Abbott for sending the immigrants to these blue cities. I commend Ron DeSantis for doing so.
Last minute or so we've got here, guys. I actually think, while some are saying political stunt, PR stunt, all this kind of stuff, I actually think that there are a lot of people in the United States right now who are taking a second look at the issue, the policy of illegal immigration, saying, whoa, this is bad. This is an actual human issue. We do have to secure that border beyond the Republican, Democrat, anti-Trump, pro-Trump. I think that this is working in a big way to force people to look at the issue in a much deeper way.
Yeah.
I think it is. Lori Lightfoot just a few days ago said that we need the federal government involved.
Mm-hmm.
She said this is not a new issue, but it's a new issue for us. And that's exactly what Governor Abbott and Governor DeSantis was trying to accomplish.
Yeah, and I think they've done it. And so while I think a lot of people in our line of work here, guys, love to high-five each other and go, own the libs. Man, they got them. They trolled them. I'm looking at this saying, this is far deeper than that. This isn't just making a statement. This isn't just a stunt. I mean, to some degree, it is those things. But the underlying issue here is that they have said, okay, you want to talk about it in concept, in the ether, instead of saying you're going to face it. They're being forced to face it, and that means people who don't deal with this personally, directly now know what it's going to be
It's
like.
a masterclass in politics because they're forcing the left to actually take up the issue. You very rarely actually see this in politics. You're forcing your opposition to actually take up the issue, and you're putting them in a position where they have to now see it the same way you see it. They can't just talk their way out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to say, well, we got to live. We got to. I'm going to say that. And at the same time, I'm going to say, hey, you know what? We revealed their hypocrisy.
Fair enough.
And
without a doubt.
And we did. Or they did, actually. We didn't do it. They did it.
314-912-1019. Just ahead, St. Louis moves from number 1 to number 2 on the list of deadliest cities in America when it comes to murders per capita, and related when it comes to crime overall, not necessarily murder. The police show the media some of the security footage from that North City gas station where the 16-year-old was involved in a police-involved shooting. So far, the police narrative seems to get backed up by that. I'll give you the update starting at around 6:35 on 101.9 94.1 News Talk STL.
Get up. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning. This is News Talk STL at 101.9, 94.1, 99.1 HD3 and NewstalkSTL.com. This is News Talk STL.
News, analysis, and opinion from the voices you know and trust.
News Talk STL at 101.9, 94.1 and NewstalkSTL.com.
From the News Talk STL newsroom, I'm Joey Vasovich. Interstate 44 will be closed in both directions from the Stam Musial Veterans Memorial Bridge down to the 44-55 split this weekend. The closures will begin Friday night and are expected to reopen Monday morning. Construction crews will be working on bridges, pavement smoothing, sweeping, drain cleaning, and lighting maintenance. A judge is allowing construction of a new firehouse in Wildwood to move forward. In 2020, voters approved a bond issue to build 2 new firehouses for the Monarch Fire Protection District and acquire 3 new fire trucks. But construction has been held up because the fire district did not include the city in finding land for the new facility or securing needed permits. Ulrich Medical USA Inc., which develops and commercializes spinal implants, said it will relocate its U.S. headquarters from Chesterfield to Plano, Texas. Officials said in a press release the decision was made to expand in a more business-friendly environment like that of Texas. And in sports, the Missouri House of Representatives is set to discuss its gambling bill today. House Bill number 4 would repeal 3 sections of anti-sports wagering legislature and enact 17 new sections relating to sports wagering. And the Cardinals fell to the Reds 3-0 at Busch last night. The Cardinals hold an 8-game lead over Milwaukee in the NL Central. Next up, the Redbirds head to San Diego for a 3-game series. Game 1 is tomorrow night at 8:40 p.m. For in-depth coverage of these stories and more, go to NewstalkSTL.com.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Traffic Center.
So far, just normal volume. 55 north is still okay. Headed up through the work zone towards the Gasconade area this morning. Poplar Street Bridge traffic still looks good. No issues coming in from St. Charles County. Shouldn't have any major slowdowns. This report sponsored by Blindster. Save big on new blinds at Blindster.com with custom-made blinds, shades, and shutters shipped right to you at prices less than the big box retailers. Shop Blindster now and save 45% off any order. Just use the code RADIO. Blindster.com. I'm Joe Sonderman from the News Talk STL Traffic Center.
From the News Talk STL Weather Center.
I'm News 4 meteorologist Kristen Cornett with your first alert forecast. Partly cloudy overnight. There's a 20% chance of thunderstorms after midnight. We'll drop to 73. If any of those storms are able to develop, there's at least a low chance that a few of them could become strong to severe. For Monday, sunny, hot, 95 degrees. Tuesday, sunny and even hotter with a high of 97. If we hit it, that will tie the record high. That's your first alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Kristen Cornett.
Do you live in West St. Louis County? Then you can get West News Magazine delivered free to your home just by asking for it. West News Magazine is the only print source for the political, school, business, and sports news happening in your hometown. Simply visit westnewsmagazine.com/subscribe or pick up a free copy at all area Deerbergs and Schnuck stores. West News Magazine. Anybody who wants it, gets it. Anybody who gets it, wants it. Subscribe for free today. Simply visit westnewsmagazine.com/subscribe.
Are you downright disgusted with the corruption of our Democratic leadership at St. Louis City Hall that's been reported in the news?
Hi, this is Mary Teresa McLean, chair of the Republican Party City of St. Louis. If you want to put our city that we all love back on track, you must get involved. If you're ready to be part of the solution, we invite you. Come and meet us. Learn more at stlouisrepublicans.com.
Paid for by St. Louis City Republican PAC. Curtis Farber, Treasurer.
Are you in trouble with the IRS? Clara was too until she called Civic Tax Relief.
Dealing with the IRS was a stressful time. When I got a hold of Civic Tax Relief, all that stress was taken away. It made the process easy.
Call for a free consultation. 800-841-0908. 800-841-0908. Discover all the relief programs you qualify for in the first free call. 800-841-0908. 800-841-0908.
Are you paying too much for term life insurance? A man age 50 non-tobacco user can obtain $500,000 of coverage for as little as $110 per month. Level rate for 20 years. That's right, guaranteed level rate for 20 years. If you're a smoker, there are great rates available for you as well. Call Term Busters for a quote. 1-800-908-7636. You're probably paying more than you should. Call 1-800-908-7636. Remember, call Term Busters. 1-800-908-7636. Sample rate for preferred non-tobacco rate class. Exam required to qualify.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
Monday, Chris, Katie, and I are back. We'll catch you up on all the news from what's always a wild weekend of news. Gym Talent at 4:25.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
Weekdays at 3:30
on News Talk STL. Talk lines are open now at 314-912-1019. Get up, St. Louis. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning. Mike Ferguson in the morning. Made in St. Louis for St. Louis. It's News Talk STL.
A couple of months ago, my daughter decided to move into an apartment kind of downtown St. Louis, closer to between the Central West End and downtown proper. And I got to tell you, my first reaction, guys, was I didn't like it.
Yeah.
I don't like it at all. I mean, it's one of the newer apartments. You know, it's got, security and off-street parking and all that kind of stuff. But I don't like it because it's in downtown St. Louis. Because St. Louis is so violent. Now, of course, my daughter's 23 and, it's a cool apartment and that's where the young people are living. So she likes it and she doesn't track it the way that I track it. But she moved from Maplewood down to downtown St. Louis. And just the dad in me says, I don't like that. And I even told her, I said, St. Louis is the most violent, murderous city in America per capita. Well, 23-year-olds,
I know, but man, when my daughters go down, one's 22, one's 18, and when they go downtown, or even when they go to the Loop to some degree, you go out in the outskirts of the Loop and it's that way, you get worried because they get out of their car, somebody's standing there with a gun saying, okay, I'm going to take your car now. I mean, they don't even play around anymore. There are guys walk in downtown St. Louis during the midday. I saw the video. Guys walk up to a guy in a car, say, get out. We need the car.
It's kind of the thing is about the crime. Like if you're from the county, you hear about it, and you don't see it probably until it actually happens to you. And that's the thing. Like you can you can really deceive yourself into thinking this will never happen to me. But when you go into a city that's the murder capital of the country,
Right.
it could happen to you, and you won't see the crime until it does.
Yeah, because the areas that attract folks from, St. Charles County, St. Louis County, the ball games, the concerts, things like that, you're in, it's a controlled environment, you're out.
Yeah.
And so you don't really have to deal with it. Well, now there's a new report, updated report from Metropolitan Crime Commission, and New Orleans now per capita is slightly more murderous than St. Louis City. So we're number 2 on the list.
So we're not number 1 anymore.
Not number 1 anymore.
Okay.
We're number 2. So New Orleans now per capita now has 52 homicides per 100,000 residents. And St. Louis is right around 45 homicides per 100,000 residents. And, of course, that is worse per capita than Baltimore and Chicago. Now, Baltimore and Chicago have far more because they're much bigger cities. Remember, St. Louis is down to about 300,000 people in the city proper. And I've mentioned this before, and it's kind of funny how people around, just when I'm out and around, they said, yeah, I didn't believe you. I decided to look it up. The city of St. Louis population is now smaller than the city of Wichita, Kansas population. Now, the metro area is still close
it's really
to 3.
sad.
Yeah.
That's sad for a big city of St. Louis like that.
Close to 3 million people in the region.
Yeah.
But in the actual city, it's just been bled dry of population,
For the last 70 years.
Oh, absolutely.
The populations continue to go down, down, down.
And the crime aspect of it of the last several decades, obviously the awful school district is, another reason, and those are connected as well. And this is where we're at.
And there's nothing in St. Louis that makes people say, hey, St. Louis would be a good place to move.
Right.
Like, you'll have pockets, you'll have different demographics of people where it becomes fashionable to move into this one little block or something, but then that goes away. But there's no industry, there's nothing culturally really that's saying driving people to St. Louis. For 70 years, the population has just spiraled down and down and down.
Well, now in St. Louis, they were trying to make that hub, that high tech hub,
Yeah.
and I don't know where that is now, but I know Ring. Or no, Square brought their big company down here, and they were right in the middle of St. Louis, ready to go, had all their employees. Then all the unemployed or homeless people camped out around them, and Square had to tell all of their employees that, no, you can't come into work. You have to work from home now.
Yeah.
And you can attribute all of that. Everything rises and falls on leadership. So if companies are having that kind of problem in St. Louis City, that is going to be a direct result of the policies of the politicians that St. Louisans continue to elect. It is the fault of the people of St. Louis to continue to vote for these liberals who push these kind of policies and woke policies. And their economic boards in St. Louis. There's an article in the St. Louis Post-Dispatch last week. They're spending money on consultants. It is a slush fund of corruption. They don't even know why they're hiring these people. My guess is that there's just relationships and friendships, and hey, let's take this taxpayer money and just give it to whoever we want. But they're spending all this money to push woke policies that produce nothing for the city or for the people.
And Paul and Mike, I don't know if you saw this. Remember a month ago they had this couple. They were partners. These two guys, and they had dogs, and they were going across the country. They were from, I think, the West Coast, and they were stopped in St. Louis. They're sitting there, and across from them was their car, and their 2 dogs were in the car. And they were just watching them. Well, a larger truck pulled up next to the car, and someone took advantage of that, got in their car while they're sitting there and stole the dogs and the car. These are people from out of town. All they wanted to do, and then they had to stay in St. Louis until they could find their car and their dogs, and they eventually found the dog. The one was they found... One of them they found just walking along or by itself. They found the car was all ransacked and everything, and then they found the other dog eventually because people just gave it up.
Why are the criminals so aggressive? Because they know that there's a good chance they, first of all, won't get caught. Secondly, won't be prosecuted.
Yeah. There you go.
I've heard that in Detroit, there's actually a tourism industry where people can go tour the once vibrant, productive parts of Detroit. St. Louis might be the next, blot on the radar for that company to be like, hey, let's the tourism industry, visiting the ruins in Rome. They're doing it in Detroit.
I like a good ghost tour. I don't want a ghost town tour.
Yeah,
that's
ghost
where we're
town
at.
tour.
Yeah. Okay, so kind of related. Over a week now, we've got the situation where the 16-year-old was shot by police at the convenience store in North City. Well, over the weekend, police decided to let media see the the surveillance footage from that incident. Now, they didn't let the media take the video yet. They say they will release it to the public later. There's no sound. It's just video from that station, that Shell station. And here is a part of a report from KMOV where the reporter here, which is Melanie Johnson, and she's describing what the video showed. And you're going to hear from Lieutenant, and I wrote his name down here, but Lieutenant, I believe it's, I got all my papers right here in front of it, but a police lieutenant with the St. Louis Police, and I'll identify him right at the end of it. But here is what we know. This is the update we have.
The footage showing at least 4 men with guns, including the 16-year-old. Darrell Ross is also seen participating in 2 exchanges police believe were drug deals. Once the teen walked to a nearby alley, he was approached by 2 officers wearing vests that said police. He's seen running on camera, and police chased him.
And what I mean by resist, he resisted by flight. He ran. And the way we are trained to approach somebody, we yell, please stop, and he kept going.
The next 15 seconds, cameras caught the moment where the boy tripped and fell into the street and was shot by police.
Okay, that was Lieutenant John Green is who that was with the St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department. And everything up until the time that the trigger was pulled is agreed upon. Even the 16-year-old's family agrees with that. But from there, their argument is that police used excessive force. They shouldn't have shot him. The video apparently shows, like you saw the reporter from KMOV say, he turned around, comes back, and grabs the gun, going back towards it. And that's when it all happened. So, again, I'll say, let's get the rest of the facts. But I still am concerned that this is the type of thing, because the agitators are already trying to bubble this up into something bigger around the city.
Yeah, because they need a catalyst.
Right.
And this is what they're looking at.
And my hope is that even if we find there is anything at fault with the police, and we don't see anything to say that yet, that it's still managed in a way that protects that part of North City and everywhere else.
But if this isn't the match, they'll find one.
Right.
I mean, they will find a catalyst.
Well, even if
point.
the police would be totally justified in this, they would still use it.
Correct.
Yeah.
So that's why we've got to keep whatever is accurate out there, good, bad, or ugly. That's what we have to keep an eye on here and keep truth at the forefront.
Right.
314-912-1019, just ahead here. President Biden arguing about economics and inflation, and he's saying you're just taking this out of context. It's not as bad because it hasn't gotten worse. I mean, it was bad, but it hasn't gotten worse, so that's a good thing because it's still bad. I'll describe that at 6:51 here on 101.9 94.1 News Talk STL.
This is Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Traffic Center.
We're starting to get busy. 55 northbound headed up between Weber and Virginia. Add a couple minutes to your normal commute time. Poplar Street Bridge Complex is still okay. Everything in North County on 270 still rolling, although they already have the right lane closed on 270 eastbound at New Florissant. Most of the volume's westbound this time of morning. This report sponsored by Blindster. Blindster.com offers custom-made blinds, shades, and shutters shipped right to you at prices less than the big box retailers. Blindster blinds, easy to install, guaranteed to fit. Don't overpay for new blinds. Shop today and save big at Blindster.com. I'm Joe Sonderman. That's the very latest from the News Talk STL Traffic Center.
Hey folks, Tim Jones here of 101.9 94.1 News Talk STL. Join Chris Arps and I and the St. Louis Young Republicans for the annual Freedom Fest Barbecue. The second annual event will be on Sunday, October the 9th at the St. Louis County GOP headquarters at 11:30 a.m. Special guests, Attorney General Eric Schmidt, Secretary of State Jay Ashcroft, State Senator Bill Eigel, and more. Stand against tyranny, strengthen the conservative movement, enjoy tasty eats at the St. Louis Young Republicans Freedom Fest Barbecue. More information at newstalkstl.com.
Hey, Columbo here for Rockwood Charcoal. I love to grill and definitely prefer using charcoal over gas. And ever since I met Jonathan Heslop and he introduced me to his product, Rockwood Lump Charcoal, I can't use anything else. Rockwood is made from 100% pure Missouri oak and hickory and has been the nationally highest consumer-ranked charcoal for several years. So you're cooking with the best and supporting local industry and a local business all at once. Doesn't get any better than that. There's over 100 area Rockwood retailers. Find yours at rockwoodcharcoal.com.
Columbo and Katie.
Equality means equality. It means you don't discriminate against anybody.
And what are we teaching the next generation? The entire American struggle, it wasn't pretty. It was our history is very ugly. But we have the opportunity to show our younger generation, see how ugly this was? Do you see brother fighting against brother to make things right? Because that's how much we care.
Tony Columbo, Katie Fitzpatrick. Weekdays at 2 on Newstalk STL.
The Range St. Louis West is Missouri's best indoor shooting range. With 20 climate-controlled lanes, over 70 firearms available to rent, and the best staff in the business, you're guaranteed to enjoy every minute of your time with us. Our impressive showroom is full of the latest and greatest offerings from the best manufacturers in the business. Need an optic, spare magazines, holster, or any other accessory? Let our professional staff help you find exactly what you need and get it installed for you. Mention you heard us on Newstalk STL and save $100 on your membership and enjoy even more goodies. The Range St. Louis West. Are you ready?
What happens next?
Oh, I think we're in a recession.
Happens right here.
I really still think there's a huge wave of discontent, and people are going to want to throw the bums out who have caused all this inflation.
101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL. This hour of Mike Ferguson in the Morning is brought to you by Stifel. Request a portfolio review from your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com. Talk lines are open now at 314-912-1019. Get up, St. Louis. It's Mike Ferguson in the Morning. Made in St. Louis for St. Louis. It's News Talk STL.
Paul, I'm going to tap into some of your personal finance experience here. Paul, in addition to being a talk show host extraordinaire, is also involved in personal financial advice as well with your full-time gig,
right?
With that as well. But President Biden, there was a big feature on him with 60 Minutes that came out over the weekend, and to Scott Pelley's credit, he really looked befuddled at Joe Biden's answer when it comes to inflation and prices of everything. I mean, you're going to hear that in his voice, and listen to the way the president basically is gaslighting with his answer. This is really right out of the same script writers that Karine Jean-Pierre and others are arguing. But listen to the president, and you hear the 60 Minutes correspondent kind of in disbelief at what he's hearing. And again, to their credit, they're actually pushing back.
Mr. President, as you know, last Tuesday, the annual inflation rate came in at 8.3%. The stock market nosedived. People are shocked by their grocery bills. What can you do better and faster?
Well, first of all, let's put this in perspective. Inflation rate month to month was just an inch, hardly at all.
You're not arguing that 8.3 is good news.
No, I'm not saying it is good news, but it was 8.2 or 8.2 before. I mean, it's not. I can make it sound like all of a sudden, my God, it went to 8.2%. It's
the highest inflation rate, Mr. President, in 40 years.
I got that. But guess what we are? We're in a position where for the last several months it hasn't spiked. It has just it's been basically even.
Okay, let's, again, to use the president's words, Paul, let's put this in context. That means that a month before, that year over year, comparing the prices, they're 8.2% on average higher than they were before. And the last month's report was 8.3% compared to where it was the year before. And he just wants to look at it's just 0.1 of 1%. No, it's over. It's almost 8.5%.
And he got that wrong too.
Yeah.
He said that it was 8.2% and it's only gone up just an inch. So he's confusing two different inflation numbers. And this is really alarming for the president of the United States to not even understand what the CPI index report even means. So inflation was at 8.5 in July. It came down to, what was it, 8.3?
Something like that. Yeah.
Something like 8.3.
2.5 or 3%.
Yeah. Slightly came down a fraction of a percent for August.
Mm-hmm.
So the 12-month rolling window of inflation has come down, but the month-to-month went up 0.1%. The economists were predicting that the month-to-month would actually go down 0.1%. The reason that the overall inflation window dropped is largely attributed to the fact that gas prices have fallen. Grocery store, food, and energy, all that has continued to go up.
Yeah.
The one significant thing that we measure that came down substantially is the cost of gasoline. And that's what we attribute to the inflation actually coming down. Had that remained the same, even if that just remained the same, inflation, the 12-month rolling average, would have continued to go up. And so President Biden, he said it was at 8.2. That's not even true. He doesn't even know what he's talking about. He doesn't even understand the difference in the different types of inflation that they're measuring. So the fact that he didn't even give the right number is just rather alarming.
Well, he was gaslighting away from the whole point.
He's trying to make something up to sound smart and say that he's got this under control, but he doesn't have it under control because he was reading numbers that weren't even in the inflation report.
And he's talking about we're in the best position. What you've been in the best position. You've been saying that for 8 months now.
Now that's the part that makes me really cringe. We're in a good position because it's at 8.3%. Come on.
Right.
We're not in a good position right now.
We're in a terrible
I don't care
position.
what he says or what Jean-Pierre says that we're secure and we're on our way to a new market. When? What are they talking about?
It is gaslighting, just straight out lying to the American people to make them doubt the reality that we're facing. Jen Psaki did this when she said inflation's going down, and when questioned on it, she said, "Oh, well, it's just not going up as fast."
Right.
Well, there's a big difference between something not climbing as fast versus something that's actually going down.
Senator Tim Scott was on Sunday Night in America with Trey Gowdy on Fox News, and he responds basically to this entire line of argument that we're hearing. And this is double, triple, quadrupling down from the left, saying something that anybody with a basic understanding of economics knows is not true.
The Democrats hope you believe what they say and not what you see at the gas pump or your electric bill or your food bill, but trust them. They will bring your inflation down by doing the exact same thing that caused it, overspending.
Yeah. I mean, he just...
Nail on the head.
Yeah.
The Democrats want you to believe what they say and not what you see. Oh, that's a perfect way to put it.
It is. And that's why, I love how Tim Scott, he could use an injection of pizzazz into his politics, but he's right. He's right. By the way, his recent book is very good, by the way. So with pointing this out, and you can hear the words, but the actions being taken are accelerating the inflation that's out there. The strategic reserve that has been bled out to try to keep the supply and the fuel costs steady, which has worked, but there's only so much in there, and we now have very little left in the strategic oil reserves compared to where it was a year ago.
And I look at that, and I think that is another slap in the face of the American people using our reserves for his political campaign.
And, well, the other portion of that, the other part of the reason gas prices are down so far, the data demonstrates that people have just found ways to be more efficient themselves. They're not going to take that extra trip. They're going to carpool more often. They're going to find ways to save money on gas. And so,
not go on vacation.
Not go on vacation. They're going to stay closer to home. They're going to do things closer to home rather than drive 30 or 40 minutes, for just a trip. So, gas has become a little bit less competitive as people have tried to find ways not to spend as much money on gas.
Yeah, which affects other aspects of the economy. All right, we're going to talk to Stephen Moore at around 7:35. Just ahead, Senator Bob Onder going to give us the update on what's happening in Jefferson City. Are we going to get a tax cut? Or are we not going to get a tax cut? What a mess the Republican Party and the legislature is turning into in Jeff City.
Again.
Yeah. Yep. We said it.
We've been here 30 years, 30 Christmases in this house, and we have the traditions that most families have.
That's Terry talking about her experience with Rhino Shield ceramic coating.
We did Rhino Shield 14 years ago, and the house still looks the same as the first day. Rhino Shield really worked with me to help me get just the right nice soft yellow, and it's 14 years later, and it's the same color.
The main reason Terry called Rhino Shield is because it's backed by its 25-year transferable warranty.
It just sounded wonderful that we could have the house coated with Rhino Shield and not have to worry about it again for 25 years.
Take it from Terry. Give Rhino Shield a call now for a free evaluation. 877-25-RHINO. 877-25-RHINO or visit 877-25rhino.com.
There have been neighbors that have come by and said, "Did you just have your house painted?" Because they wanted to know who the contractor was. And I said, "No, it's actually Rhino Shield."
877-25rhino.com.
How is your car payment treating you? What if I told you you could make a free phone call right now and reduce your car payment by as much as $83 a month? Look at your car payment closely. You could be paying as high as 20% interest. Rate Genius can help you reduce your car payments by reducing your interest rate to as low as 2.48% APR. We can refinance most existing car loans or leased cars, new or used, and save you money every month. Put more money back in your pocket. The call is free to find out how low we can lower your car payment. 5 minutes of your time right now could save you hundreds of dollars a year. Call Rate Genius now.
800-764-2179. 800-764-2179. 800-764-2179. That's 800-764-2179.
Not all applicants qualify for a loan or rate savings. Actual offer terms, including APR, are determined at the time of your application based on creditworthiness, value of the vehicle, loan term, and other factors.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at NewstalkSTL.com.
Breaking news this hour from townhall.com. I'm Rich Thomason. It drew heads of state and dignitaries from around the globe. Today's funeral for Queen Elizabeth at London's Westminster Abbey. A moving tribute to the monarch who reigned 70 years. In a country that's known for pomp and pageantry, the first state funeral since Churchill's was filled with spectacle. And when the religious service came to an end, Big Ben chimed as members of the royal family joined in a procession escorting the Queen's casket to Wellington Arch. Correspondent Karen Chamis among spectators lining the streets, paying their respects to the Queen.
Mourners across London have come to say their final goodbye to the late monarch Queen Elizabeth II. I'm at the Mall by Buckingham Palace, where the funeral procession is due to pass. In the background, you can hear a radio broadcast of the Queen's funeral, as mourners, many dressed in black, stand silent with their heads bowed. Some have come because of a personal sense of connection to the Queen, whereas others came to be a part of history. Karen Chamas, London.
Puerto Rico is reeling this morning following a hit by Hurricane Fiona. The storm taking out the island's power grid. It also unleashed devastating flooding along with mudslides. The governor of Puerto Rico is describing the damage on the island as catastrophic. Meanwhile, the Dominican Republic now feeling the fury of Hurricane Fiona. Watching Wall Street this morning, stock futures deep in the red, suggesting a lower open later on. Right now, the Dow futures are down 261 points for a loss of close to 1%. NASDAQ futures 119 points in the red, and the S&P futures are down 35. More on these stories, townhall.com.
You know how much you're really paying for life insurance through work? I can almost guarantee you're overpaying for limited coverage. I'm Joel Clark, a Select Quote agent for over 20 years. My clients are shocked to learn how expensive life insurance at work really is because of a rate that's driven up by unhealthy people. Why pay more when you don't have to? For over 35 years, Select Quote has helped people save 50% or more by shopping highly rated insurance carriers. I found a 40-year-old man with high blood pressure, a $500,000 policy for only $18 a month. Don't procrastinate. Workplace open enrollment will be here soon. Let SelectQuote save you money and get you the coverage you need to protect your family.
For your free quote in just minutes, call 1-800-865-2266. That's 1-800-865-2266. 1-800-865-2266. Or go to SelectQuote.com. Full details on example policy and carrier ratings at SelectQuote.com/commercials. Price could vary by health, issuing company, and other factors. Not available.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Traffic Center.
We're starting to get busy. 55 northbound headed up between Weber and Virginia. Add a couple minutes to your normal commute time. Poplar Street Bridge Complex is still okay. Everything in North County on 270 still rolling, although they already have the right lane closed on 270 eastbound at New Florissant. Most of the volume's westbound this time of morning. This report sponsored by Blindster. Blindster.com offers custom-made blinds, shades, and shutters shipped right to you at prices less than the big box retailers. Blindster blinds, easy to install, guaranteed to fit. Don't overpay for new blinds. Shop today and save big at Blindster.com. I'm Joe Sonderman. That's the very latest from the News Talk STL Traffic Center.
From the News Talk STL Weather Center.
Most of the rain this morning well east of St. Louis, but man, it is muggy, and it's going to stay muggy today. The high making it into the mid-90s, about 95 degrees. The record is 96, and the heat index should reach 100 this afternoon. Overnight lows tonight in the 70s, a dry but a very hot day tomorrow. 98 could break the record high of 97. And then it looks like we start to cool off the latter part of the week as we begin fall. I'm KMOV First Alert meteorologist Kent Earhart.
This hour of News Talk STL brought to you by House Sold Easy. Looking to sell a house fast? Call David today at 314-293-3000. That's David with House Sold Easy at 314-293-3000.
Selling your St. Louis area home is a big deal. It's one of the biggest financial transactions you will ever make. In St. Louis, call Gloria Lou with Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. That's Gloria Lou with Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. She'll do a great job for you. Gloria has mastered the home selling process to help you maximize the sale of your home in this crazy seller's market. Why, Miss Lou? Gloria already has the buyers. Thousands of them looking for homes in your neighborhood and your price range. Fact is, with Gloria Lou, your home may already be sold. And while most agents make big promises, Gloria will sell your home at the agreed price and time frame, or she will buy it, guaranteed in writing. So please call Gloria Lou today, 314-325-6888, 314-325-6888, or visit GloriaHasTheBuyers.com, GloriaHasTheBuyers.com.
No big old corporate lib AM station telling us what to say here. Conservative talk for St. Louis. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at NewstalkSTL.com. Mike Ferguson.
You play ball like a girl!
Gabe Pfeiffer.
I triple dog dare you!
Get up! Get up! Can't you hear the alarm?
Get up, St. Louis.
So it's time to get out of bed. Pour yourself the greatest cup of Kofifi the world has ever seen. Rise up with one voice. Drain the swamp and take back our country. Today's the day we're going to do it, and it's time to do it right now, believe me.
Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
You look like a Kofifi robot.
Paul was at attention there.
I call that the coffee stir.
That's right.
Oh, okay.
That's right.
All right.
It's kind of like churning the butter, but just with the coffee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what Paul Kerman did for
all
Gabe
the kids
Pfeiffer,
will be doing it.
That's right.
All the kids will be doing it.
So it was very clear Paul did not do a full dance again on the Kofifi dance.
It was a new dance called the
Coffee Stir.
Coffee Stir.
That's right. The swish.
The swish.
The swish.
There you go.
All right.
I like that.
7:07. I'm Mike Ferguson. Paul Kerman and for Gabe today. Like I said, Ken Williams in as well as usual. And the Missouri State legislature headed back to Jefferson City this week. Did not get a tax deal done last week after having the special session delayed a week because there wasn't a tax deal done, even though the governor says we're going to get a tax deal done. Oh, by the way, we also want some special tax breaks for agriculture and some other things. State Senator Bob Onder is among those headed back to Jefferson City this week. And, Bob, it's one of those kind of head scratchers. It's an election year. The governor says, I want a tax increase or tax decrease, tax cut. There are record revenues in the coffers of the state, and yet there's no tax cut deal done. What the heck is going on out there?
Well, good morning. Great to be back on. The governor, as you know, about a little over a month ago, called for a special session in which we would get a tax cut done. Right now, our income tax stands at 5.3%. And some on the left would say we are an undertaxed state. We're up there with the People's Republic of Massachusetts at 5.3%. But our tax rate has been gradually working its way down thanks to a bill called Senate Bill 509 passed in 2014. And the governor said, let's accelerate those tax cuts and lower our income tax rate to 4.8% right away, something I definitely support. Now, all the tax credits I'm not so crazy about, but lowering the taxes is something that seemed to have some consensus in the House, in the governor's office, and among the conservative members of the Missouri Senate. Unfortunately, last week it looked like Senate leadership was going to name the veteran tax cut opponent, Lincoln Huff, as the lead sponsor of the tax bill, and that was a very disturbing development. And what he proposed is not to cut the marginal rate at all anytime soon, at least not in the next decade. But instead do a one-time stimulus check. So I was really disturbed at that development. Unfortunately, it does enjoy some support among the more flimsy liberal members of the Republican Senate caucus. So I think there will continue to be discussions and perhaps even a floor fight over this issue. I really wish Senate leadership would rethink this strategy and really designate a bill handler who would agree with the governor's call for an across-the-board tax cut.
Senator Onder, this is Paul Kurtman. So I've got two questions.
Hey, Paul.
I got two questions for you. I just want to make sure I understood you right. The first question is, from what you just said, it sounded like we have gone from a tax cut to a one-time stimulus check, or is that something that was debated during the regular session that they decided not to do? And so at this point, I guess what I'm really asking is, do we actually have a bill? Is anybody a bill sponsor? Because to have a special session and not actually have a bill just seems to be kind of abnormal and kind of a waste of time.
Yeah. There are many bills filed, but the two competing bills seem to be the tax cut bill filed by the Senate Ways and Means Chair Andrew Koenig, who represents part of your listening area, and the kind of rhino one-time stimulus combined with a tax cut 10 years from now bill filed by Lincoln Huff. Unfortunately, the early indications were that Senate leadership was going to let Senator Huff kind of carry the main bill, and that was a very scary development. Because and this is not just me saying this about Senator Huff. Senator Huff has killed numerous tax cut bills, including Senator Eigel's bill to eliminate the personal property tax in his fiscal oversight committee in the Missouri Senate. So having a anti-tax cutter in charge of the tax cut bill was really very disturbing. I don't think the governor's office is happy about it either. So the question is, whether leadership in the Senate and some of the more liberal Republicans in the Senate will come along to the governor's position, my position, Senator Koenig's position, and the House's position to actually cut taxes. If not, we're not going to have a deal, and we're just wasting the taxpayers' money by being down in Jeff City.
I'll just make one other comment that maybe you would want to speak to or not, but it just really seems to be like it's just politics and a real failure in leadership that if we're having a special session to discuss a tax cut, we would not have the chairman of the Ways and Means Committee, who is by and large has more expertise on tax policy than anybody else in the state Senate, not be the one to actually handle and move that legislation along through the process.
Well, I would agree with that 100%, Paul. In fact, when you refer, for instance, a health bill like a pro-life bill to a bill other than the health committee, that's what happened to me during a regular session, it probably means that Senate leadership doesn't really want to pass a pro-life bill. Likewise, when you take a bill, a tax bill, and you don't send it to the tax committee, to the Ways and Means chair, the tax committee chair, someone who's dedicated his whole career to cutting taxes, and you send it to the committee of someone who hates tax cuts, that tells you that the fix is in to do something other than cut taxes. It's once again a real failure in leadership. Look, Paul, I think voters spoke loud and clear in August that they didn't want business as usual. Many of these flimsy rhino Republican senators had serious primary challenges. One even lost his primary and won't be returning in January. It just does not seem the so-called leadership of Senator Dave Schatz, Senator Caleb Rowden, are really listening to the voters and listening to the people who sent them to Jefferson City.
We're less than 2 months away from the general election. If Republicans don't deliver on this, Bob, are we looking at frankly turning off some people who are looking forward to a tax cut in what most people will agree is a recession, although the elites don't want to use that word this close to an election? I mean, this is something that Republicans run on every single year. Republicans can run the table. If Republicans are serious about delivering a tax cut, y'all can deliver a tax cut.
Yeah, we need to deliver a tax cut. Just like Congress failed to deliver a repeal of Obamacare, even though several election cycles running, they ran against Obamacare. Likewise, in Jefferson City, when we have $4.84 billion in surplus, that's not the government's money. It's not Lincoln Huff's money or Dave Schatz's money. It is the people's money, and we need to return some of that money to the people and use this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to make a substantial cut to our income tax rate so we can make our state great again, to borrow that phrase. Missouri lags in so many measures. We lost one congressional seat last decade. Our population is lagging. Our fastest-growing states, not just Texas and Texas and Florida, but even Tennessee, Kentucky, are states that are moving in serious ways to either eliminate their income tax altogether or moving in that direction. We need to do the right thing. We need to deliver a tax cut.
All right. Well, I'm glad that you and what used to be known as the Conservative Caucus are out there fighting for that. It just seems like this was almost a slap in the face when there was so much made of the Conservative Caucus dissolving as a great bridge builder, and then you all are the response to that. It seems to me in part is, you're not getting one of your main things that even most Republicans agree on, which is a tax cut when there's excess revenues happening right now.
Well, I wasn't part of the dissolution of the Conservative Caucus. That was the returning senators who are going back in January, so they can do what they want. But I feared this is the way it was. Yes, those who decided to dissolve the Conservative Caucus were trying to extend an olive branch to build bridges, and it is a slap in the face. But it's not a slap in the face to just us conservatives in the Senate. It's a slap in the face to the people of the state of Missouri, just like raising the gas tax at a time when gas prices were skyrocketing was a slap in the face to the voters who sent us down to Jefferson City.
All right, State Senator Bob Onder, appreciate the update. Of course, they can find you at Onder for Mo on social media, and just look you up on the web as well, Bob. We'll bug you for an update if this drags on for a while again.
All right, anytime. Thank you.
All right, State Senator Bob Onder there. All right, by the way, Stephen Moore, Donald Trump's one of his top economic advisors, is going to be with us at 7:35. Just ahead, President Biden says something that some went, what? Little eyebrow raising regarding COVID. Are we going to learn any lessons from all this? Spoiler, probably not, but we'll let you hear from him just ahead right here on 101.9 94.1 News Talk STL.
fight your war.
Watch us on our live stream using Rumble, Facebook, and Twitter. Get up, St. Louis. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning. Made in St. Louis for St. Louis. It's News Talk STL. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Traffic Center.
A crash eastbound on I-70 at 270 is blocking the two left lanes. We've got fire and EMS on the scene. They're also partly blocking the ramp from eastbound 70 onto South 270. So that is causing a jam back to the Blanchette Bridge, about a 15-minute delay. If you normally come in that way, you may think about using 370 this morning. 55 north backing up Weber through Virginia. Otherwise, we're just picking up the pockets. 270 north, Tesson Ferry to Gravois. Doherty Ferry to Manchester is busy. Also, we're a little busy eastbound on 64 running in from 170 to Big Bend, but that's it. That support sponsored by Wendy's. Try Wendy's new home-style French toast sticks today. Some are saying they're better than their mom's French toast. Perfectly crispy on the outside, fluffy on the inside, perfect in every way. Try Wendy's new home-style French toast sticks today and see if they're better than your mom's. I'm Joe Sonderman. That's the latest from the News Talk STL Traffic Center.
Hey everybody, this is Paul Kurtman, host of the Paul Kurtman Show on News Talk STL, but I'm also the president of PR Kurtman Investments. The market is down and inflation is up. So if you have questions about the investments in your portfolio, please let me help. Just send me an email by visiting freedomportfolios.com. There's no cost. The market might be uncertain, but that doesn't mean you should be too. Contact me today, Paul Kurtman, by visiting freedomportfolios.com.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
Kenny Zhu, president of Color Us United.
Race became a profitable industry. That's what happened. Racial victimhood. We all believe in civil rights, but then there are people who actually profit off of racial victimhood in this country. Diversity, equity, and inclusion right now, the new hot thing in companies, is a $10 billion plus industry.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps. Weekdays at 3:30 on News Talk STL.
I'll second guest dinners with friends because they can be interrupted by diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or oily stools. It turns out I have EPI, or exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, which means I'm missing the enzymes needed to digest food. My doctor prescribed Creon, pancrelipase, an oral prescription medication that replaces pancreatic digestive enzymes. Creon treats EPI due to cystic fibrosis, chronic pancreatitis, pancreatectomy, or other conditions.
Creon may increase your chance of fibrosing colonopathy, a rare bowel disorder. Tell your doctor if you have a history of intestinal blockage or scarring or thickening of your bowel wall, if you're allergic to pork, or if you have gout, kidney problems, or worsening of painful swollen joints. Call your doctor if you have any unusual or severe gastrointestinal symptoms or allergic reactions. Take Creon as directed by your doctor and always with food. Do not chew capsules, as this may cause mouth irritation. Other side effects may include blood sugar changes, gas, dizziness, sore throat, and cough. These are not all the side effects of Creon.
Creon is the #1 prescribed EPI treatment. Ask your doctor about Creon for EPI and visit creoninfo.com or call 800-633-9110 to learn more. That's CREONinfo.com.
Fox News commentary.
California Governor Newsom is punching way above his weight class again. I'm Tommy Lahren. More next.
It's one of the top 5K events in America today, held on the last Sunday in September, the Tunnel to Towers 5K Run and Walk New York City event. That signature event has inspired about 80 other runs, walks, and climbs across our nation. Proceeds from events, including dozens of golf outings and barbecues, support the Foundation's programs. Register for an event in your area, volunteer to start one, and join Tunnel to Towers on its mission to do good and never forget. Donate $11 a month at T2T.org.
After Florida Governor Ron DeSantis sent 2 planes of illegal immigrants to Martha's Vineyard last week, a very triggered California Governor Newsom requested the DOJ investigate for potential kidnapping crimes. Governor DeSantis responded to that BS request by speculating Newsom's hair gel was interfering with his brain function. Further proving the hair gel theory, Newsom challenged DeSantis to a debate being moderated by CNN, of course. Not only is a CNN suggestion ridiculous, why would DeSantis have to debate Newsom? The proof of leadership is in the pudding and the numbers. Floridians, despite being begged by Gavin, are not fleeing to California. It's the other way around. Newsom's own in-laws are included in that bunch. It's obvious Gavin is desperate for attention and wants to be president so badly in 2024, he's already pumping himself up. Gavin, take your hair gel to the French Laundry and work on your rolling blackouts before you start a Twitter feud with a successful governor. I'm Tommy Lahren, and you can listen to all of my hot takes at foxnewscommentary.com.
St. Louis's new choice for conservative talk.
I think they're trying to attack the American people.
Live and local.
Gabe, Mike, Ken, you guys are my morning
morning cup of mental coffee. I love the show. Definitely a convert from the old one.
This is News Talk STL. Talk lines are open now at 314-912-1019. Mike Ferguson in the morning. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, 99.1 HD3 and NewstalkSTL.com.
I mentioned right before that last information segment, we've got Stephen Moore, who's going to be on the program with us right around 7:35. Of course, top economic advisor to Donald Trump with FreedomWorks. See him on Fox News all the time. I'm going to play one of the sound bites from President Biden talking about, we talked about it a little bit ago, talking about, well, I mean, the inflation just was up just like a little, and I think he said an inch.
An inch, he said.
An inch.
Which that's
compared to
funny
last
in itself.
month. Instead of looking at where it's at right now overall is terrible, but he wanted to reframe it. So I'm going to play that for Stephen and get his response to that as well. And during that 60 Minutes segment featuring President Biden, he was also asked about everything COVID-19. Now, to those of us who are just normal, rational people, the so-called pandemic, if you want to call it that, has been over for, 8 months? This has not been a thing for a long time. You know, there are still some offices that still are hung up on the mask thing, and they're still fear-mongering over it, and it's incredibly stupid. I have to go to St. Luke's for my follow-up examinations on my eye surgery. And they freak out over the mask thing. It's really stupid. And honestly, it makes me less confident in the doctors that I'm dealing with when I have to deal with that. You know, it just is. And so he was asked about COVID-19 and the governmental response, and this is what the president had to say.
The pandemic is over. We still have a problem with COVID. We're still doing a lot of work on it. But the pandemic is over.
Okay, so we're 50 days from the election, and now the pandemic is over. Because when people think pandemic, I don't think they think of, oh my goodness, I'm going to get sick. I think what they think of is schools shut down, churches shut down, stay-at-home orders, businesses being run out of business. They think of everything J.B. Pritzker did in Illinois and Sam Page did in St. Louis County. And so now you've got them saying, well, we can't keep pushing this. Because we're going to get slaughtered on this, because voters do tend to forget quickly, even on major stuff like the way that they abused us over the course of years by these fear-mongering tactics. And so now the official line is pandemic's over. But, Paul, they still want the courts to recognize power, that they could reclaim at any time. And so the question is, have we learned anything from this?
No.
I agree.
That is a quick answer for radio, but no, I'm afraid not.
Yeah, and when I say we, there are way too many people who are just waiting for the word to get scared again.
And they're trying.
You're ordered to be scared again.
Monkeypox, polio, now is coming back.
Polio's a thing now?
Yeah.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Polio, huh?
Yeah.
But vaccines eradicated polio, which is why we were all told to get the COVID vaccine. And here we are 8 months away from the pandemic, and polio, it's like it's a state of emergency now in some of these northeastern territories.
Because people coming over the border illegally are bringing polio back. There are polio cases outside the country.
Mm-hmm.
And when they come in and they give it to somebody else, we have polio again.
And did you mention monkeypox disappeared off the headlines almost entirely? Over the weekend, Channel 4 did a story on a monkeypox, like basically vaccine clinic that happened in St. Louis. And they're talking about they're trying to get, some more of these out there. It's the smallpox vaccine is basically what it is. And I actually had somebody say, well, hey, don't you worry about monkeypox? I'm like, no, I have zero chance, 0% chance of getting monkeypox because we know how it's spread at this point. We know that. But that reflects poorly on a lot of the cultural assertions of the left right now, and the LGBT community is just missing an opportunity to lead on this. I mean, they should say, all right, this is among our people right now. Guys, stop it for a little while, and it would go away.
It's really interesting now that you have
people who want to be leaders on the science. But now they're beginning to cross over.
Capital S trademark, by the way. Yeah.
What's that?
Capital S trademark. Science.
That's right. You have people that are experts on the science, but they suddenly become less experts whenever it starts crossing those social issue, lines. They want to be careful. They got to be woke when it's with the science.
And that's what happened with COVID. I mean, with COVID, we now look back, and even the numbers don't add up. I mean, I remember there was an economist at the Central Arkansas University, or University of Central Arkansas, and he's a friend. I know him, and he's in the freedom circles, but he's like, I'm just running the numbers. Deaths were up, compared to other years' average deaths. And I said, wait a minute. Non-emergency medical treatments were shut down in many of our biggest states, blue states. People couldn't go get dialysis. Yeah. People couldn't go get cancer screenings. There were cardiac areas that if it were not like your life is in danger at this moment, these were shut down. So I absolutely see that we've got an increase in the number of deaths on average. And people immediately say, see, this is what COVID did to us. No, this is what government did to us.
That's right.
Yeah, COVID didn't do it. Government did. And that's why also after the election in 2022, you're going to see some changes in attitude among the government again. I think you're going to see them attempt, they won't happen this time, but they'll attempt to lock things down a little bit more, either right before or right after.
Paul, do you think that if and when there's another attempt that Ken just described to shut things down, lock things down, because remember, we learned early on that COVID only hunts at night. That's why you had to close your restaurant or your bar and grill at 10:30, because after that it was just
and only
too
in
dangerous.
groups of like 5 or more, and only if you're singing hymns in church versus rioting in the streets.
Well, don't forget standing in a restaurant, because when you're sitting, you're fine.
Right. Yeah.
When you stand to go to the bathroom
then it goes
or something,
to get you.
That sees you and goes at you.
And you have to wear a mask. I mean, even if you cut holes in it so you can play a flute in a symphony, as long as you're wearing a mask,
that's all that matters.
That piece of paper, yeah. And if and when that happens again, will there be more people who stand up and just say no? Because I knew of a few businesses that just said, we're not doing it. They want to come after us.
I think it'll be the same people that said no the first time. It'll be the same people. But, I mean, we're going to see deaths go up if it ever comes back because of what you said. Government people having their life-saving surgeries pushed off.
But, Paul, we see flu deaths that are even more.
Oh, yeah.
There are many more flu deaths every year than there are COVID.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that's just indisputable. And we also know that the mask orders made zero difference when it comes to all of the
Even the 2 mask orders?
Even the 2 mask orders. Every single one of them made no difference whatsoever.
What about the shield? Face shield.
Well, I mean, they helped your social distancing because nobody wanted to be around you.
Oh, okay.
That's true.
That is true.
All right, Stephen Moore is going to be with us at 7:35, so right around 4 minutes right here on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Watch us on our live stream using Rumble, Facebook, and Twitter. For podcast articles and more, find us on NewstalkSTL.com. Get up. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning. This is News Talk STL at 101.9, 94.1, 99.1 HD3 and NewstalkSTL.com. The candidates.
We're going to win this campaign.
The issues.
Gas prices, Biden inflation.
The election news, analysis, and opinion you won't get anywhere else. Decision 2022 happens.
There's a backlash coming
on News Talk STL.
From the News Talk STL newsroom, I'm Joey Vasovich. A 51-year-old U-City man who in 2020 entered Blueberry Hill dressed as the Joker while live streaming a threat of violence on Facebook was sentenced Friday to 60 days in jail. The man said everyone knew that it was a joke, but he pleaded guilty to the misdemeanor to avoid many more months in jail. A 2-alarm fire damaged 4 homes in the 300 block of Briar Chase Circle in O'Fallon, Missouri Saturday afternoon. 2 of the houses were deemed uninhabitable and 2 others had heat-related exterior damage. No injuries were reported, but 2 families were displaced. Singer Post Malone fell in a hole on stage Saturday night during his show at Enterprise Center, injuring his ribs. A team of medics rushed to his aid and escorted him off stage. Malone returned 15 minutes later to finish his abbreviated set while holding his side and apologizing to the crowd. The St. Louis County Animal Shelter is pausing dog adoptions after several animals came down with canine parvovirus. The shelter says it plans to resume adoptions sometime this week if there are no new cases. Adoptions of cats are still open. And in sports, the Mizzou football team beat the Abilene Christian Wildcats 34-17 on Saturday. This Saturday's game is at 11 a.m. at Auburn. And the Cardinals fell to the Reds 3-0 at Busch last night. The Cardinals hold an 8-game lead over Milwaukee in the NL Central. Next up, the Redbirds head to San Diego for a 3-game series. Game 1 is tomorrow night at 8:40 p.m. For in-depth coverage of these stories and more, go to NewstalkSTL.com.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Traffic Center.
If you're eastbound on 70, go ahead and stick with the interstate as you approach the Blanchette Bridge and 141. We had a crash at 270 that really had things snarled. That cleared to the shoulder about 7:15, so we have thinned out some. It's not worth going out of your way to 370 like it was a few minutes ago. Eastbound 270 at New Florissant, right lane already closed for construction work. 55 north is heavy Butler Hill up through 270 in the right lanes, then slow in all lanes Weber up through Virginia. There's a crash on the right shoulder at Arsenal. This report is sponsored by Lowe's, and I'm Joe Sonderman from the News Talk STL Traffic Center.
Don't miss the Energy Savings Event at Lowe's. Save energy and save money on select major appliances, including Whirlpool. Selection varies by location. Exclusions apply. Visit Lowe's.com for details. Valid through 9/28.
From the News Talk STL Weather Center.
Most of the rain this morning well east of St. Louis, but man, it is muggy, and it's going to stay muggy today. The high making it into the mid-90s, about 95 degrees. The record is 96, and the heat index should reach 100 this afternoon. Overnight lows tonight in the 70s, a dry but a very hot day tomorrow. 98 could break the record high of 97. And then it looks like we start to cool off the latter part of the week as we begin fall. I'm KMOV First Alert meteorologist Kent Earhart.
Since 2007, the state of Missouri and local governments have handed out almost $5 billion in tax subsidies or abatements to private developers. That money could have gone to basic services like schools and public safety. And studies show these subsidies don't produce the promised jobs and growth. If developers want to build a sports stadium or shopping mall, why should they be given our tax dollars to do it? It's time to reform economic development subsidies. The Show Me message has been brought to you by Show Me Institute and Show Me Opportunity.
Michael's Flooring Outlet is a locally owned and operated family business for more than 28 years, featuring exclusive products, unbeatable prices, and expert installation. You can choose from a wide variety of flooring options, including carpet, hardwood, laminate, ceramic tile, luxury vinyl, natural stone, plus many other options. And you'll gain a peace of mind knowing that your flooring and carpet installation will be done right the first time when you hire the experts at Michael's. You can shop in-store at one of their 3 convenient locations or shop from home online. Check out everything Michael's Flooring has to offer at igotfloored.com.
Hey folks, Tim Jones here for Hanson's Tree Service. As my daughters would say, it's fall, y'all. That means it's the perfect time to call Hanson's. Prime time for Hanson's to come out and do all that fall trimming before winter storms can bring down trees and limbs on the homestead. Get on the Hanson schedule for winter dormant oil applications to protect your trees from insects taking shelter over the winter, and a perfect time for Hanson's to put you on a preventative plant health care program. Everything you need for winter can be found at Hanson's. Hanson'sTree.com.
The news and talk.
This bill is the biggest step forward on climate ever.
That matters to St. Louis.
We are doing this responsibly. A lot of people have called this vote buying ahead of the midterm.
News, analysis, opinion. 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
I know, realize that I'm nothing.
Talk lines are open now at 314-912-1019. Get up, St. Louis. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning. This is News Talk STL at 101.9, 94.1, 99.1 HD3 and NewstalkSTL.com.
Paul, I think one of the big challenges that we've got on the conservative / libertarian / free market side of everything is to stay locked on to what matters. Don't take the bait. Don't get distracted between now and Election Day in order to be able to push back against all these policies and all these politics and all these cultural things that are causing such damage to the United States across the country. we've got to stay focused.
There's so many things out there pulling people in different directions that can distract you.
Yeah.
I mean, just earlier in the show, we were talking about this incident that happened with a shooting in St. Louis.
Right.
That could easily become a distraction. The fallout from that could become a distraction. Meanwhile, we have things like inflation. We have things like spending. Everything else could easily have a much longer impact on Americans' everyday life.
Right, and that's we forget, remember the baby formula. Well, that hasn't gone away. The baby formula issue has not gone away. There are young families all over this country, young mothers all over this country, who are having trouble finding baby formula or enough of it to keep up with what their children need. In some parts of the country, not everywhere. Yeah. And then, of course, we put such an emphasis on gas prices when they were skyrocketing up. Now they've leveled off, still way bigger than what they were a year and a half ago, but we've gotten used to it. Where it's at.
It feels like relief.
Right.
We've gotten a little bit of relief. Like there's still pain. It's just not as bad as it was, and people are willing to settle.
Yeah, exactly. And this is a new normal is what has, I think, settled in for a lot of people. And that sort of apathy or taking our eye off the ball is what the danger could be. Now, this means local elections, and while me personally, I still want everybody to remember the damage Sam Page did in St. Louis County over the lockdowns, the shutdown, the violation of our First Amendment rights, the fact the courts ruled against him over and over and over again, and his arrogance in trying to reclaim authoritarian power. But the fact of the matter is that there's a lot of people who just have forgotten about it and they've moved on. Well, let's remember that he's led the effort to be as hostile on business as possible. And so we need to keep the focus on what he wants to do politically and policy-wise is what's really hurting people.
What he wants to do politically and policy-wise is going to send St. Louis County the same direction that St. Louis City has gone because he's part of that whole ideological framework and frame of mind.
And that's where we have to stay locked in. We have to say, okay, when you want to waste $1 million in order to pay for people to go get abortions, when your priority is trying to distract with all this cultural, stuff, which is important. I mean, with him, basically, wanting to lead with the abortion and the trans stuff and all that kind of stuff. But you forget about his corruption. You forget about his lack of transparency. You forget about how dishonest Sam Page has been over the years. And we're going to get more of that if we leave him in office. J.B. Pritzker, even more of a big uphill battle on this. But if Darren Bailey can at least give them a scare. I don't know if that can possible or not. If he can at least give him a scare, it might force Democrats to come back to the table on the insanity that's destroying Illinois from Chicago, from within. I mean, they take the rot from Chicago and they bring it to Springfield, and they've known the problem for years on spending and public pensions and public sector unions, and these are the things that are destroying the state, but they keep doing it.
But the observation that I make here, like in Missouri, we just had our primary elections, and we've seen the voters of Missouri oust incumbent Republicans in favor of a more conservative Republican. But I don't know if I can identify any cases of Democrats ousting a wildly liberal progressive Democrat in favor of somebody who's a little bit more moderate.
No, if anything, it's gone the other way.
Yeah.
I mean, Cory Bush, after getting rid of, we've even forgotten his name at this point. The Cory Bush beat Lacey Clay.
Yeah, and
I mean, he was already liberal, and she's fringe.
And this is kind of concerning because, like, you see, like the American people like moving further and further apart, and the people that are still in the middle. I'm kind of wishing, like, man, right now the middle kind of seems like a little bit more safe to me, right? But the thing is even the people in the middle are nuts in their own right. Like we were just talking about Lincoln Huff.
Right. Yeah.
So Bill Eigel announces he's just looking into possibly running for governor. Mm-hmm. And Lincoln Huff, did you see this picture of him?
No, I didn't.
He's wearing he's at a Missouri, it looks like a Missouri Times event. I don't know where it is. Scott Fawn had a tweet out, and it shows Lincoln Huff. He's in front of a podium. There's a Missouri Times logo on the front, and he opens up his blazer, and he has this shirt just mocking Bill Eigel. It says Eigel 2024. And this is the middle of the road guy. This is the guy that they're using in the state Senate to introduce a tax bill for the special set. So you want people to like the person introducing the bill for special session. And instead they pick somebody who's middle of the road at best.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he's really a almost a center-left guy when you look at his votes. If he's from the Springfield area, which means he can't get elected as a Democrat. And I don't know the guy, but I suspect that he's on the Republican ticket out of convenience.
Yeah, he's definitely not a far left Democrat, but he's certainly not a conservative by any means. Hardly, arguably not even a Republican. So this guy is maybe right around the middle, more so than the more extremes of either party. But then he's acting like a total jerk, right?
Yeah.
Like he's like he doesn't respect the position that he has and the fact that he could be reaching out to people from this middle position, and instead he's making fun of people whose votes he's relying on to pass legislation, and that is nutty to me.
As a novice, I always see our government, our Republicans, infighting is going to cause the Democrats to win in the future, because I don't know, it just seems to me that while they're all fighting, the Democrats are all in lockstep and they're scheming and getting things together with this whole, with the different type of voting system and all that other stuff. And then eventually I think that's going to cause problems for the Republicans.
Yeah, and that's why we have to come back to this. This is a nice way to come back around to say, listen, voters and those of you who are active, whether it's on social media or, hey, imagine this, in person with your friends, and to everybody who isn't a real strong political activist, but they're going to show up to vote. These are the things that we need to remind them of. Is like, yeah, you were complaining about how you had to choose between some things in order to cover necessities. Yeah, there's a reason for that.
Yeah,
Hey,
there are people that are responsible for that.
Yes, and these are the people we need to take power from. You're not asking people to join the Republican Party. We're not saying that. We're not asking them to, sign up for all the alerts and to go down to the Capitol and lobby but remember that at this point we need to bring some balance back to the federal aspect of it, and we need to further empower the tax cutters on the local and state level.
I had a conversation once with a woman who was pretty liberal. She was self-avowed liberal, and I was making a case for limited government, for keeping more of your own money. We're having a conversation on taxes, and she actually said, we were having a good discussion, an honest discussion. And she said, I really see where you're coming from. She goes, but there's just no way I could ever be a Republican. And I said, well, fine. Don't be a Republican,
right, sure, yeah.
But don't be
I'm not a Republican.
Don't be a blindly loyal to the Democrat. Shoot for independent. That way you don't have to give allegiance to anybody. Just shoot for independent. And she was like that. And she actually said this. She goes, this was in an email conversation back and forth, like maybe 10 years ago. That sounds good. I'm going to do that from this point forward. I'm just going to be now. Before she was saying she's a liberal. She identified. She told people, I'm a liberal. I'm a liberal. That was her identity. But after having a conversation and actually coming to, arriving at the truth on the value of cutting taxes and how it could actually help her, she decided, at least I'm just going to be an independent, and I'm not just going to give blind loyalty to these liberal politicians.
Yeah. Yep. All right, 314-912-1019. That movable middle is where we need to be engaging the most right now as we head into this election season. All right, just ahead here. Well, it's the day I think everybody told me that I have to celebrate. I don't really want to, but I'll explain just ahead. Also, man, kind of my baseball season's over, for sure, for real. My last team got knocked out. Kind of a weird feeling.
What are you going to do?
I know, annoy my wife probably, until she's like, get out of this house and go do something. All right, that's all still ahead here on 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL.
Watch us on our live stream using Rumble, Facebook, and Twitter. For podcast articles and more, find us on NewstalkSTL.com. You're listening to Mike Ferguson in the morning. Made in St. Louis, for St. Louis. It's News Talk STL. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Traffic Center.
We look a lot better on eastbound 70. There's a couple of slow pockets, 270 to the Rock Road, but traffic headed for the Blanchette Bridge is thinned out. There was a crash there earlier. However, I'm getting a stalled semi northbound on 270 north of 55. Looks like it's the right lane. Sort of hard to tell, but it is slow through there. And once you clear that, you've got heavy pockets coming up through Gravois and Manchester, just pockets. 64 East is getting busy, approaching Clarkson Olive, and again, 170 in towards Big Bend. Westbound 70 past Zumbell, they're already setting up for road work this morning. Left lane closed. This report sponsored by Lowe's. This is Joe Sonderman from the News Talk STL Traffic Center.
Don't miss the energy savings event at Lowe's. Save energy and save money on select major appliances, including Whirlpool. Selection varies by location. Exclusions apply. Visit Lowe's.com for details. Valid through 9/28.
The Vic Borselli Show.
So credit card companies are keeping track of who buys firearms. Only one person to talk to about that. That's Aaron Tarlow from Southern Armory. He'll join us at 10:41 on Monday.
Weekday mornings at 9 on News Talk STL.
Oh, Adam, you are so romantic. And I love the kitchen you found with all these great crumbs.
Yeah, baby. Only the finest crumbs in the kitchen for my favorite aunt. Oh, no. It's the pest control company again with those green wheels. They always kill the mood.
This is Derek, the owner of All Solutions Pest Control. Give us a call today at 636-486-7888. We'd love to help you out. Learn more about our special $67 offer. You can visit us online at allsolutionspestcontrol.com.
If a pest-free home is your goal, call All Solutions Pest Control.
Packages start at $29.99 a month with sign agreement. Restrictions apply. Speak to a representative for complete offer details. See Vivint.com for license details. Terms and conditions apply.
Homeowners, if you're looking for the best in home security and smart home technology at a price you can actually afford, we have great news. Now you can get Vivint's award-winning home security systems starting at about $1 a day. U.S. News and World Report has recognized Vivint as the best professionally installed home security system of 2022. And right now, you can get Vivint's home security technology for about $1 a day. Plus, get free professional installation from a licensed technician. Protect your home and loved ones for as low as $1 a day. Call right now for your free home security consultation.
800-561-3405. 800-561-3405. 800-561-3405. That's 800-561-3405.
Talk radio made in St. Louis for St. Louis. This is News Talk STL.
Our responsibility.
News, analysis, and opinion.
To provide updated guidance.
At 1019, 941, and NewstalkSTL.com. Talk lines are open now at 314-912-1019. News, analysis, opinion.
Hi, this is Kira Davis from RedState.com, and you're listening to Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
We just got to keep everything in context, guys. That's what we're being told by the president right now. You know, things suck, but no, they really don't. If you look at it in context and just let him redefine things, then it's really not that bad.
Or if you're listening to Karine Jean-Pierre, it's, look, I want to make this statement. It's really important that we understand this.
It is 7:50. I'm Mike Ferguson. Got Paul Kurtman in for Gabe Pfeiffer today. That's Ken Williams. Joined now by Stephen Moore, former Donald Trump economic advisor. Of course, you read him in the Wall Street Journal, see him on Fox News all the time. Stephen, I want you to respond to something the president said. Of course, he was on 60 Minutes with that segment that aired over the weekend. And basically, to 60 Minutes credit, they seemed dumbfounded by the answer that they were getting from the president. And here's how the exchange went.
Mr. President, as you know, last Tuesday, the annual inflation rate came in at 8.3%. The stock market nosedived. People are shocked by their grocery bills. What can you do better and faster?
Well, first of all, let's put this in perspective. Inflation rate month to month was just an inch. Hardly at all.
You're not arguing that 8.3 is good news.
No, I'm not saying it is good news, but it was 8.2 or 8.2 before. I mean, it's not. I can make it sound like all of a sudden, my God, it went to 8.2%. It's
the highest inflation rate, Mr. President, in 40 years.
I got that, but guess what we are? We're in a position where, for the last several months, it hasn't spiked. It has just barely. It's been basically even.
Okay, Stephen, I'm trusting your economic observance, every day and twice on Sunday more than Joe Biden's. What do you make of that answer in that exchange?
Well, he's trying to put a lipstick on a pig, right? I mean, this is a horrible number. The average family is losing about $3,000 a year because of the Biden inflation. And I was shocked by the way that by that number Tuesday. I very seldom admit that I was wrong, but I thought the inflation rate was going to come down, and it's still 8.5% or so, which is really high for people. It is causing real hardship. And when the president answers a question like that, Mike, I think he actually sounds kind of out of touch with with real America and what people are facing, instead of kind of fessing up and saying, you know what, maybe we did spend and borrow too much. Maybe $4 trillion of spending and borrowing wasn't such a good idea. But there's none of that. There's no kind of mea culpa. There's no recognition that this economy is a disaster for middle-class families. And I find that to be, as I said, a little bit delusional about the state of the American economy. We'll see. I think it's incredibly fragile right now. I'm really worried about this soft recession becoming a crash landing recession. I hope I'm wrong about that.
Stephen, this is Paul Kurtman. I got a question for you about the president and the Federal Reserve. What do you make of the fact that the administration, just a second ago you said he's trying to put lipstick on a pig, but on the other side, on the Federal Reserve side, you got Jerome Powell, who seems to be taking a very serious approach to this. He gave that speech in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, just a couple weeks ago, an 8-minute speech that was he came across obviously very concerned, very serious, but ready to really just take action. What do you make of the disconnect between the president and the Federal Reserve's position on this?
Well, first of all, the Federal Reserve, Jerome Powell is also, culpable for this runaway inflation. I think I argued on this show over 9 months ago, hey, let's get serious about inflation. And remember that it was the Fed and the White House. Oh, it's transitory. It's going to go away. It's a high-class problem. Don't worry about it. I am glad that the Fed is finally getting serious and hawkish about bringing down inflation. Look, you can't go forward with 8, 9, 10% inflation. It will destroy the economy. It will destroy people's livelihoods and their lifetime savings. So I applaud the Fed for finally saying we're going to do whatever it takes to bring inflation down. Here is the problem, though. Paul, you can't bring the inflation rate down if you're spending and borrowing trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars. They're just printing money. So how is the Fed going to combat that? In other words, your fiscal policy, the spending and taxing policies of the government are making inflation worse. And the Fed is like, what are they going to do? They have to keep raising rates. Did you see what happened to mortgage rates, by the way? And across the country, they've gone over 6%. They were like 2.75% when Trump left office. Just that increase of 3 percentage points means a $500,000 home purchase with a 30-year mortgage, you're going to pay another $150,000 just in interest payments.
We're visiting with Stephen Moore. You see him all the way on Fox News, freedomworks.com, former Trump advisor.
Hey, Stephen, this is Ken. The Democrats right now, they're out and out lying. The whole administration, you've got Congress people saying that, oh, no, things are great. President Biden, you are just a lifesaver. Do you think as we get closer to the midterms that the American people, I'm talking about the average American, is going to see through this bull and actually vote where they should be in their pocket with their pocketbook?
Well, let me address one part of that. One of the, as you all know, I was a senior advisor on the economy to Donald Trump, and I'm very proud of what we did. We brought inflation down to 2%. We had booming economy up until COVID hit, and even once COVID was even the second half of 2020 before the election, the economy was booming. So basically, what happened, I would think it's so important people understand this. Joe Biden inherited a low inflation economy that was starting to boom, and he turned that into a high inflation bust economy. And he did that in 20 months. I would never have thought it was possible. You could go from 1.5% inflation, which is what it was when Trump left office, to 8.5% today. And then what's he going to do? Blame that on Trump?
Yeah.
Yeah, come on. Does anybody believe that? I'm frustrated. If I sound frustrated, I am, because the American people made a big, big mistake in November of 2020. If Trump were still president, we wouldn't be talking about recession. We wouldn't be talking about inflation of 8.5%. We wouldn't be talking about an out of control border, although I guess Kamala Harris is saying the border is secure now. Thank God. Oh, finally. We wouldn't be talking about massive crime in the city. We wouldn't be talking about Russia and Ukraine. We wouldn't be talking about China, flexing its muscle and threatening Taiwan. These are results of a very weak and feeble president. who doesn't know what he's doing when it comes to the economy. He has no idea how would he know? He's been in politics for 40 years. He doesn't know anything about business, about economy, about finance. Whether you like Donald Trump or not, and I know a lot of people don't like his personality, but you got to love his policies, right? I mean, what he did for the economy was miraculous.
All right, Stephen Moore, I really appreciate you being on the program. We'll check again soon. Unfortunately, we're going to continue to have lots of changes to talk about over the next little bit. All right. Stephen Moore, everybody. Check him out, FreedomWorks. Just look at freedomworks.org. You see a lot of his work there. And, of course, Wall Street Journal and Fox News as well. 314-912-1019.
If you're concerned about the current market and the 40-year record high inflation that we're seeing, you're not alone.
Credit card usage skyrocketing and at record highs, savings rates plunging.
It's 100% certainty that you're in recession now.
The good news is, for decades, Steve All and his team have been helping people just like you protect and grow your income. And most importantly, not run out of money.
My clients that are currently sitting there on guaranteed incomes, they're not really worried about what's happening in the market. So they're more at peace because every month that paycheck comes in.
Call Steve today for your customized market protection plan. 636-230-8824. That's 636-230-8824. Or visit yourmoneymattersstl.com. Investment advisory services offered through Retirement Wealth Advisors, LLC. By contacting us, you may be provided with information about insurance products, including annuities. Licensed in Missouri and Illinois.
Do you own an annuity, either fixed rate, indexed, or variable? Are you paying high fees and getting low returns? If so, Annuity General would like you to have this free book to learn the pitfalls and mistakes of buying an annuity. The Annuity Do's and Don'ts for Baby Boomers contains the little-known truths about annuities, like how to help reduce your fees and increase retirement income. And it's free. That's right, free. As a bonus, we'll also throw in a free annuity rate report just for calling. We researched over 1,000 annuities and summarized rates and benefits from financially strong insurers. You get Annuity Do's and Don'ts for Baby Boomers and the Annuity Rate Report, both absolutely free for calling Annuity General today. Hurry, supplies are limited. Call now.
800-649-8619. 800-649-8619. 800-649-8619. That's 800-649-8619.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNVS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at NewstalkSTL.com.
Breaking news this hour from townhall.com. I'm Rich Thomason. At London's Westminster Abbey.
In my father's house are many mansions. If it were not so, I would have told you.
British Prime Minister Liz Truss reading from the Gospel of John at the state funeral of Queen Elizabeth II. The service, elements of which were planned by the Queen herself through heads of state and dignitaries from around the world.
The last post has been sounded at the state funeral of Queen Elizabeth II, as the nation falls silent to honour Britain's longest reigning monarch. The King had led members of the royal family in a procession behind the coffin to Westminster Abbey, where world leaders were among the congregation at the hour-long service. During the sermon, the Archbishop of Canterbury, Justin Welby, remembers Queen Elizabeth.
Now gone from us, she was joyful, present to so many, touching a multitude of lives.
The coffin left the Abbey to proceed by gun carriage to Wellington Arch, before the Queen's laid to rest later next to her beloved husband Prince Philip at St George's Chapel in Windsor. Charles de Ledesma, London.
Hurricane Fiona now beating up on the Dominican Republic after battering Puerto Rico earlier. Governor of Puerto Rico describing the damage on the island as catastrophic. Fiona knocked out Puerto Rico's power grid, unleashed flooding and mudslides. Ahead of an expected significant interest rate hike by the Fed, stock futures sharply lower this morning. The Dow futures are down about 207 points. NASDAQ futures off 75 points. And the S&P futures 25 points lower ahead of this morning's opening bell. More on these stories at townhall.com.
My brother-in-law died suddenly, and now my sister and her kids have to sell their home.
That's why I told my husband we could not put off getting life insurance any longer. An agent offered us a 10-year, $500,000 policy for nearly $50 a month. Then we called SelectQuote. SelectQuote found us identical coverage for only $19 a month, a savings of $369 a year.
Whether you need a $500,000 policy or a $5 million policy, SelectQuote could save you more than 50% on term life insurance. For your free quote, call SelectQuote at 1-800-940-6161. That's 1-800-940-6161. Or go to SelectQuote.com. That's 1-800-940-6161. SelectQuote. We shop. You save. Full details on example policies at SelectQuote.com/commercials.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Traffic Center.
Just quite a bit of volume now. 64 eastbound slows approaching the Chesterfield Parkway, and it opens up by the time you get to Timberlake. But you're slow again approaching McKnight, most of the way in through 170. Westbound 64 is backed up Hampton to Hanley. 70 eastbound delays 141 to the Rock Road. Then you look better.
From the NewstalkSTL Weather Center.
Most of the rain this morning well east of St. Louis, but man, it is muggy, and it's going to stay muggy today. The high making it into the mid-90s, about 95 degrees. The record is 96, and the heat index should reach 100 this afternoon. Overnight lows tonight in the 70s, a dry but a very hot day tomorrow. 98 could break the record high of 97. And then it looks like we start to cool off the latter part of the week as we begin fall. I'm KMOV First Alert meteorologist Kent Earhart.
This hour of News Talk STL brought to you by The Dental Link. Call Dr. Alan Link today, 314-794-6464 to schedule your free consultation. Offices in Baldwin and Melville, 314-794-6464.
Hey, Tim Jones here with Tony Colombo for our friends Rodney and Jen Wallner at the Wallner Home Selling Team. If you're thinking about taking advantage of the market and selling your home, don't wait. Call the Wallners now. Put St. Louis's #1 home selling team to work for you. Rodney and Jen have the experience and work ethic that sets them apart from all the rest. That's why they sell 15 times more homes per year than your typical realtor and have so many qualified buyers right now. They'll guarantee to obtain you an offer. The results, Tony, speak for themselves.
That's right, Tim. In fact, I recently benefited from those results personally. My wife and I couldn't be happier with the job the Wallners did for us, selling our old home in less than 2 days for significantly more than we were asking for and finding us the perfect new home. Like so many others, we loved working with Rodney and Jen, the Wallner Home Selling Team with Berkshire Hathaway. So if you're thinking about selling your home, don't wait. Call the Wallners now at 314-810-SOLD. That's 314-810-SOLD.
Hey, it's Katie, reminding you to subscribe to our show podcast so you never miss anything that happens here at News Talk STL. Get our podcasts every day on the show pages at NewstalkSTL.com, or just subscribe to your favorite shows on Spotify, Apple, Google, Amazon, or anywhere else you get your podcasts.
Mike Ferguson.
This is the kind of adventure I usually have to force upon us, and here it is, falling into our laps.
Gabe Pfeiffer.
They're buying it.
Get up! Can't you hear the alarm? Get up, St. Louis.
Watch a couple squats, son.
Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
Get up! This is your cousin God.
All right, let's just get real here, Paul. Okay,
let's do it.
Let's do that here. We talk about the city of St. Louis. Now, generally speaking, we talk about the Lou, and we're generally talking about everybody, the whole region. But let's talk about the city of St. Louis. By the way, whenever I hear, a lot of like the leaders in the city, like, well, we can't have a vibrant region, St. Louis region, without a vibrant city of St. Louis. I'm getting to the point where I'm convinced that's not true. I think that if St. Louis City continues to crumble from within, then St. Louis County, St. Charles County can still be vibrant. Jefferson County can still be vibrant. Illinois has so many more challenges from the state level as well. But I think that vibrancy could still happen in the region, even
absolutely.
And that's not a good thing. I mean, it's good that there can still be vibrancy, but it's bad that the city used to be one of the biggest cities in the country now is at a point where the market is getting ready to protect itself from a void and a vacuum created in the city.
The collar counties around St. Louis will become more vibrant, and the reason is because as St. Louis City continues to moved down into this abyss, a place where nobody wants to live, crime capital, the country. Well, the people that have money to invest, people that want to live in a nice place, the people that want to live in a safe community, they're going to start investing their money in the communities around St. Louis. You look at Franklin County, for example, the city of Washington has been growing by leaps and bounds, lots of investment, lots of businesses moving in. And so you see a vibrancy really beginning to blossom there that otherwise probably would have stayed in a place like St. Louis City if it had an atmosphere to foster that.
Well, and Franklin County is also benefiting from the bad decisions of Sam Page. And the
100%.
liberals, and that's driving businesses and people out of the county, just like they are to St. Charles County. But the reason I bring this up is because you mentioned being the crime capital of the country. Well, according to a new report from the Metropolitan Crime Commission, which tracks violent crime throughout the country, for a long time, St. Louis was the most violent, murderous city in America per capita. Let me clarify what that means. There are other cities, Los Angeles, New York, Chicago, that have more murders every year than St. Louis. This is looking at per capita specifically, and St. Louis, believe it or not, for quite a while, had more murders per capita than anywhere else. Well, according to the last update on that, now New Orleans has slightly more murders per year than St. Louis does per capita. Now, St. Louis's population is now right around 300,000 people. So we don't have as many murders, but the frequency is still second worst in the nation.
As a ratio.
Right.
We have more criminals as a ratio of the population than
Baltimore, Chicago.
Well,
New
that's
York City.
saying something.
Yeah, it is.
And we're specifically talking about murder, too.
Right. In this case, we're just talking about murder. So when you look at all of that together, and the fact that St. Louis's population, the city's population, is so low now, 300,000 is not a big city anymore. But it's obviously a major metropolitan area, which is why you still are able to support St. Louis Cardinals, St. Louis Blues, the Dome, and we'll have the Battlehawks and all of the arts and entertainment that come here. But the city itself continues to die from within.
Yeah.
Which is why we have a decision. I said, let's get real about this. Well, we have a decision. Do we fight to try to preserve the city? Because there's a lot of people out in the county that are like, hey, I got out of there. Screw that. And I don't want to see that happen with the city. I mean, we talked to our friends, Mary Teresa, McLean, and we talked to the folks who are trying to get in and tell the people of St. Louis, you voted for this. You mentioned that earlier, Paul. Well, you voted for this. This is the absolute predictable consequence of electing left-wing woke politicians for decades and generations.
And they just reelected Cory Bush. So like that, to me, I don't see a lot of hope for the future because that's what they're looking for. They're looking for those types of policies.
And they're getting them. I mean, and that's the thing is that's what the city is getting. So where do we go from here? When crime happens, just about everybody except law enforcement are enlisted, particularly with the current administration that has a hostile view or seems to have a hostile view of law enforcement, wanting to spend additional funds that come in on everything other than staffing up the police ranks to where they should be. But we want more programs. I mean, what are we going to do? Have another midnight basketball somewhere? I mean, is that going to solve it this time? No.
Yeah. The priorities of St. Louis are so incredibly backwards and upside down. I had mentioned this earlier, but there is I might have been an op-ed in the Post-Dispatch just last week talking about how they're spending money. The headline was, request to hire even more consultants raises eyebrows at St. Louis agency. The board of St. Louis Development Corporation tabled all of its agenda items Thursday, meaning last Thursday, 3 of which related to hiring outreach and technical assistance consultants for approving firms for future work on a new $37 million grant program. But here's what one of the people in St. Louis said. Just giving me the name doesn't do much for me. I know you had an internal group vet and make recommendations. Still, are these all one-person firms? What's their capacity? What's their experience? We don't ever see any of that. So St. Louis is spending millions and millions of dollars on people that they don't even know. Right. They don't even know what they do. And some of these are just one-person firms. Talk to me about a consultant firm that only has one employee. I could do that. I could file a $50 LLC application with the Secretary of State and immediately become a consultant in the government of St. Louis, reach out and hire me, which is something I might do if I had a friend inside the city of St. Louis who was ready to cut a check, But their priorities are so backwards, and they're always pushing these woke policies and hiring woke consultants to tell them what to do. Meanwhile, you got police out there who don't even have confidence that they can do their job because you have somebody like Kim Gardner in office who's refusing to prosecute, and even has police on a list. If you're a police officer and you're on my list, I'm not even going to prosecute anybody you bring before me.
You were elected 4 times to the state legislature. So you've gone door to door. You've sat in town halls. You've done all of this. Now, your district didn't include the city of St. Louis, obviously. But what is it that motivates somebody to see what's going on? It can't be that. It's got to be obvious to people in St. Louis that this isn't working. So why is it so locked in that only the left wing continues to get elected? Now, part of it is there are areas of St. Louis where conservatives don't even try, and they know they would lose, but they don't even try.
I'm just going to kind of shoot from the head on this one. Okay? Just kind of thinking this is just kind of brainstorming here. I really believe a lot of it in terms of St. Louis and this particular region has to do with culture. A lot of it is this culture that's deeply ingrained in this leftist ideology that fosters and continues to foster a particular type of culture in terms of the way people think politically. And so it doesn't matter that the policies lead to bad outcomes. They have bought into and they have ownership of these particular policies. Because that's what they identify with. It's kind of like socialism, right? We all know socialism doesn't work, but you still have people that say, well, I'm a socialist anyway because we're going to do it right. It might have failed for everybody else, but we'll do it right. And so you still have politicians in St. Louis who have bought into this ideology that obviously doesn't work, and even though it's staring the people in the face, and it's causing them to live in houses with bars on the windows in their community, they're still going to continue to vote for the people that force these same policies that make people feel like they need to put bars on the windows.
Now, St. Louis is now the second most murderous city per capita in the country. Do you know what New Orleans had to do to pass up St. Louis? They had to experience a 141% increase in homicides in a city that's larger than St. Louis City. That's what it took to make St. Louis number 2 in murders per capita.
And I'll just mention something else here. I just got a text from somebody who's listening. So thanks for listening, Brenda. Another big part of it, I talked about the culture, these policy and political cultures. Let's keep in mind St. Louis City, the voters in St. Louis City also voted, they're part of a political party who literally have robbed the people of their own votes. Let's remember that the Democrat Party defrauded the people in an election for state representative in which they reelected Penny Hubbard. That's right. And it turns out that Bruce Franks should have been the winner, and a judge had to throw it out. Why? Because the Democrat Party ran roughshod over the Democrat voters of St. Louis City. There's a reason alone right there that the people of St. Louis ought to turn their back on the Democrat Party, because the Democrat Party has turned their back on the people. It's so much so that it doesn't matter who they vote for. The party's going to get what they want, and they don't care about the voters. We see it in the elections, we see it in their policies, and now we're seeing it in the streets with the crime.
Republican Party leadership will look at St. Louis and say, we can't win there, don't invest in it. Should they invest in it?
No, I wouldn't.
Yeah.
I wouldn't. I want to. But because of the culture that's been ingrained politically, it just seems like a bad investment. But we should. We absolutely should, because people need more choices, and people inherently want to be free, even the people of St. Louis.
2023 might be the year to do that, and then if you've got to refocus in 2024, that's fine. But baby steps are better than no steps at all, I guess.
That's right.
Yeah. All right, 314-912-1019. What's the solution you've got? Like I said, let's talk about it. Let's get real right here on 1019 94.1 News Talk STL.
Watch us on our live stream using Rumble, Facebook, and Twitter. Get up, St. Louis. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning. Made in St. Louis for St. Louis. It's News Talk STL.
You want to give me more information?
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Traffic Center.
Relatively quiet as far as incidents are concerned. We do have a stalled tanker truck that's partly blocking the right lane, 270 northbound between 55 and 21. Not slowing things down too much, but northbound 270 is pretty heavy between 44 and Manchester now. Northbound 55, not much out of the ordinary. It is slow. Weber up through Gasconade. 64 west, same situation. Hampton to Big Bend is heavy and slow. Eastbound on 64, you've got heavy pocket either side of Clarkson. Then again, approaching Spady, more or less in through Big Bend, it has pockets of heavy traffic. Add 5 minutes to your commute. 70 eastbound, the only heavy pocket I see is right at the Rock Road. This support sponsored by Blindster. Blindster.com offers custom-made blinds, shades, and shutters shipped right to you at prices less than the big box retailers. Blindster blinds, easy to install. They're guaranteed to fit, too. Don't overpay for new blinds. Shop and save big at Blindster.com. Joe Sonderman from the News Talk STL Traffic Center.
If you are on Medicare, you need to listen to this message. Open enrollment for all Medicare participants starts October 15th. This is a very critical time of the year for you to make needed changes to your plan.
This is Mike Butts with MB Health Insurance Agency. Regardless if you are new or renewing your health insurance, the process can be confusing and very time-consuming. MB Health is local here in St. Louis, and we will handle your enrollment quickly, properly, and effectively. Find us on the web at mbhealth.com.
MB Health can also help small businesses find the perfect medical coverage for their employees. That's mbhealth.com.
The Vic Porcelli Show.
Good morning, Karen Cataline. How are you?
Hey, good morning, Vic Porcelli.
One more thing about the raid, and then we'll move on. They said that Biden did not know about the raid. Wait a minute, you two. Stop it, both of you. He didn't know about the raid. That doesn't mean they didn't tell him about the raid. He just forgot. He forgot. There you go.
Vic Porcelli, weekday mornings at 9 on News Talk STL.
Hi, this is David with Household Easy, and I buy houses cash. If you own a house and you want to sell it fast at a fair price, call me at 314-293-3000. I pay cash and close in as little as 3 days. I buy houses in any condition, any price range, and any location in St. Louis. I'm a private real estate investor who buys several houses a month, and I want to buy more. I buy inherited houses, divorce houses, behind in payment houses. I even buy my tenant won't pay me the rent houses. Do you own a house that is trashed and needs thousands of dollars in repairs? Great, because I love buying junk houses. I buy vacant houses, abandoned houses, condemned houses, and foreclosure houses. If you own a house and you want to sell it fast, call me at 314-293-3000. That's 314-293-3000. 314-293-3000.
Fox News commentary.
California Governor Newsom is punching way above his weight class again. I'm Tommy Lahren. More next.
It's one of the top 5K events in America today, held on the last Sunday in September, the Tunnel to Towers 5K Run and Walk New York City event. That signature event has inspired about 80 other runs, walks, and climbs across our nation. Proceeds from events, including dozens of golf outings and barbecues, support the Foundation's programs. Register for an event in your area, volunteer to start one, and join Tunnel to Towers on its mission to do good and never forget. Donate $11 a month at t2t.org.
After Florida Governor Ron DeSantis sent 2 planes of illegal immigrants to Martha's Vineyard last week, a very triggered California Governor Newsom requested the DOJ investigate for potential kidnapping crimes. Governor DeSantis responded to that BS request by speculating Newsom's hair gel was interfering with his brain function. Further proving the hair gel theory, Newsom challenged DeSantis to a debate being moderated by CNN, of course. Not only is a CNN suggestion ridiculous, why would DeSantis have to debate Newsom? The proof of leadership is in the pudding and the numbers. Floridians, despite being begged by Gavin, are not fleeing to California. It's the other way around. Newsom's own in-laws are included in that bunch. It's obvious Gavin is desperate for attention and wants to be president so badly in 2024, he's already pumping himself up. Gavin, take your hair gel to the French Laundry and work on your rolling blackouts before you start a Twitter feud with a successful governor. I'm Tommy Lahren, and you can listen to all of my hot takes at foxnewscommentary.com.
St. Louis's place to talk.
Because that's where the votes are getting stolen. When you get into the facts and logic and reason thing, it drives me crazy because you're right. I call it the oh my God virus.
News Talk STL. News, analysis, opinion. Talk lines are open now at 314-912-1019. This is Mike Ferguson in the morning. Made in St. Louis for St. Louis. It's News Talk STL.
We have an update on the case of the 16-year-old who got into a confrontation with St. Louis police just over a week ago. Police are now saying there is video of what happened, and some of the media has been allowed to see it. We're going to get one of those accounts of that here in just about, we'll do that in about 2 minutes or so. I'm Mike Ferguson. It is 8:22. Got Paul Kurtman in for Gabe Pfeiffer today. Ken Williams is here. And if you're just joining us, I just kind of challenged to say, hey, let's get real. It even became almost a joke. We're number one because St. Louis was number one in the number of murders per capita in this country for a while. I mean, for a number of years. Well, now, according to the last report, the city of New Orleans is having such a scourge of crime that they are now the most murderous city per capita in the country, and St. Louis is now number 2 in the country. And it's obvious what many of the factors are, Paul. I mean, it's obvious. You've got a lack of economic opportunity that can go back to a horrible school system. You've also got a culture of corruption when it comes to prosecution and not prosecuting criminals, siding with criminals who have evidence against them over law enforcement officers if a political and in my opinion, corrupt prosecutor refuses to take cases, pushes for lenient sentencing, everything that invites violence as opposed to discouraging it. And that's in addition to the city hall's hostility to law enforcement and refusal to keep the staffing numbers where they should be. And many law enforcement officers are arguing also equipped the way that they should be.
At the end of the day, like what the observation that I make from a lot of this is that you have these politicians that are more interested in social justice. A lot of it has to do with catering to issues familiar to and important to the Black Lives Matter community. St. Louis, for example, has a volunteer reparations fund. So the city decided it was important that, hey, reparations are important, but it's a volunteer fund. But like you see the direction, like when these types of things become more important than law and order, right? I mean, who are you going to pay reparations to when we're the number 1 murder capital or the number 2 now murder capital for the whole country? I mean, you can't put things like that ahead of the safety of your own citizens. You can't do that because then everything you say you believe in begins to fall apart because you're not going to have anybody left in the city because they've either all been moved out or murdered.
Yeah.
But your thing that you were just saying about them putting it ahead of the safety of people, that's kind of like the way it's working a lot with Democrats in general. I don't care what they're talking about. If they have a chance to gain power and have policy that's going to help them and gain that power, it doesn't matter if people get hurt. Okay. I really believe that.
I know we got a call here we're going to get to in just a second, but let's say talk to somebody who lives in Town and Country, lives in Chesterfield, lives in St. Charles, lives in Washington. Why do they care? The St. Louis is falling apart from the from the inside. Why does it matter to everybody? Because that's the case I think that doesn't get made enough.
And I think a lot of people don't care, but the people that do care, they care because they just don't want it creeping out to them.
Yeah. And so you'd hate to think it was that, I don't want to say cold-hearted, but that practical. When the reality is that you stop it there, you protect your community a generation down the road.
Life is very practical.
Yeah.
And so this is a real concern for people because this type of thing, these types of policies have a way of bleeding out into other communities.
Yeah, absolutely. Who we got, Ken?
Mike,
you're on News Talk STL.
Mr. Ferguson, good morning, sir.
Hello, how are you?
We have 70 years in the city of St. Louis of the same party voted in by the same people that lived in the city. And the reason, and you guys touched on it, they don't want it coming out to where they're at. And I'm telling you right now, I live in Creve Coeur, and we butt up to Olivet and U City, and they're experiencing the same issues that the city of St. Louis has experienced over the years. Okay? That's one issue. And then you made a comment about Mr. Franks. Why do you think Mr. Franks left the House of Representatives here in Missouri?
Yeah,
I'm sorry, Mike. Can you turn down your music back there?
My music. Oh, I'm so sorry. I had my television on. And
okay.
Yeah,
anyway.
Bruce Franks. He left saying that he had to leave for mental health reasons, if I remember right.
Okay, well that may be, and I'm not going to question whether he has a mental capacity, but his ability to lead and make legislation, and I know Kirkman, you had to see him up there. He's dumber than a bag of rocks. It truly is. I sat across from this man in a poker room in the city of St. Louis at the casino downtown. You just don't make decisions like you do, like what he did at the poker table. So it's all the issues that he and the people who run the city of St. Louis have the same problem. They just don't know how to legislate. That's my opinion.
All right. Hey, Mike, appreciate you being on News Talk STL. One of my worries is that they do know how to legislate, and they're doing this on purpose.
Some of them know how to legislate, and they're doing it on purpose.
Yeah.
A lot of people just don't know how, because a lot of people – so when someone gets elected to the legislature, if you ever go to Jefferson City, you'll see all the state house representatives with their little pin on, and the state senators have a slightly bigger pin. So anyway, I won't get into that, but I will say this. A lot of people just want to get elected because they want to, quote, be somebody. Yeah. It's kind of an exclusive club, and so a lot of people, there are people there that are dumb. They're stupid.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely, 100%, but they have money. They went out, they connected with people, they shook enough hands, they got elected. But then when they get there, they think that since they made it there, now they might be able to make it into Congress. They think they're the next lieutenant governor. And so they're not willing to actually lead and do the hard work. And so essentially they turn themselves into legislatively illiterate fools, and they just go along with whatever's put in front of them.
Yeah, I've seen that a number of times. I was on the board of aldermen in a city with a guy who went on to serve 4 terms in the House. And just like what Mike was describing, I mean, this guy was just dumb as can be. I mean, we were amazed that he could function in a city council meeting, and he ended up in the legislature and did absolutely nothing.
Mike, when I first got elected, I was a deputy whip. So my job was to go to, I had 1/3 of the Republican caucus that before a vote, I had to go talk to them about the bills we were going to be voting on. How are you going to vote? Why? Is there anything that needs to change before you can vote yes or no? So that was my job. That was one of the things that I did. And I was incredibly demoralized by how many people responded when I said, how are you going to vote? Their answer was, the majority of people, I'm just going to vote however the Speaker of the House votes. Whew. That's the answer. I mean, people are electing people to go there, vote yes or no, read bills, be thoughtful about things, but they don't want to rock the boat too much because they're afraid they're going to rock themselves off the political ladder, so to speak. So they're just going to vote however the Speaker of the House votes.
And we got Demetrius on the phone, but he's got to wait till our break here.
Right after the information segment, Demetrius, we'll talk about that. If you want to get in on this, 314-912-1019. Not just a bitch session here. I mean, what do we do about it? Let's get real. I said, let's get real right here. 1019-941 News Talk STL. You don't have to agree with us.
Watch us on our live stream using Rumble, Facebook, and Twitter. For podcast articles and more, find us on NewstalkSTL.com. Mike Ferguson in the morning. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, 99.1 HD3 and NewstalkSTL.com. Whether at home or at work, you're mobile. So when you're mobile, stay mobile. Keep St. Louis's home for conservative talk with you wherever you go. Download the News Talk STL app in the App Store or at NewstalkSTL.com.
From the News Talk STL newsroom, I'm Joey Vasovich. Interstate 44 will be closed in both directions from the Stam Musial Veterans Memorial Bridge down to the 44-55 split this weekend. The closures will begin Friday night and are expected to reopen Monday morning. Construction crews will be working on bridges, pavement smoothing, sweeping, drain cleaning, and lighting maintenance. A judge is allowing construction of a new firehouse in Wildwood to move forward. In 2020, voters approved a bond issue to build 2 new firehouses for the Monarch Fire Protection District and acquire 3 new fire trucks. But construction has been held up because the fire district did not include the city in finding land for the new facility or securing needed permits. Ulrich Medical USA Inc., which develops and commercializes spinal implants, said it will relocate its U.S. headquarters from Chesterfield to Plano, Texas. Officials said in a press release the decision was made to expand in a more business-friendly environment like that of Texas. And in sports, the Missouri House of Representatives is set to discuss its gambling bill today. House Bill number 4 would repeal 3 sections of anti-sports wagering legislature and enact 17 new sections relating to sports wagering. And the Cardinals fell to the Reds 3-0 at Busch last night. The Cardinals hold an 8-game lead over Milwaukee in the NL Central. Next up, the Redbirds head to San Diego for a 3-game series. Game 1 is tomorrow night at 8:40 p.m. For in-depth coverage of these stories and more, go to NewstalkSTL.com.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Traffic Center.
Not much in the way of incidents at all this morning. We have a stalled tanker truck, 270 northbound past 55. It's not slowing much down, though. 270 north is just busy running up through 44, mainly Doherty Ferry to Big Bend. It's 5570 eastbound. We do have a slowdown approaching 162. Looks like we've got road work in the left lane there. 64 east itself, Spady to Big Bend is pretty busy in pockets, not jammed the whole way. Poplar Street Bridge traffic is thinned out quite a bit, not doing badly there at all. This report sponsored by Blindster. Need new blinds or shades? Blindster.com has custom-made blinds, shades, and shutters shipped to you at prices less than the big box retailers. Blindster blinds, easy to install. They're guaranteed to fit, too. Don't overpay for new blinds. Shop today and save big at Blindster.com. Joe Sonderman from the News Talk STL Traffic Center.
From the News Talk STL Weather Center.
Most of the rain this morning well east of St. Louis, but man, it is muggy, and it's going to stay muggy today. The high making it into the mid-90s, about 95 degrees. The record is 96, and the heat index should reach 100 this afternoon. Overnight lows tonight in the 70s, a dry but a very hot day tomorrow. 98 could break the record high of 97. And then it looks like we start to cool off the latter part of the week as we begin fall. I'm KMOV First Alert meteorologist Kent Earhart.
News Talk STL is proud to have Doug Voss of Safe Money Radio as part of our lineup each week. Doug has been a staple on St. Louis radio for many years as one of the leading financial experts in the area. You can hear Doug and Safe Money Radio 3 times every weekend on News Talk STL. But in case you miss anything, you can check it all out at DougVossSafeMoneyRadio.com. What else do our listeners need to know, Doug?
Simply put, I focus on helping pre-retirees and retirees build, preserve, and protect retirement assets, and I've been helping my clients solve their insurance and financial needs for the past 33 years. I also strive to educate my clients on how to prepare for retirement, minimize the impact of market volatility on their assets, and deal with the challenges of increased longevity. Call me today at 844-676-SAFE. That's 844-676-7233.
Doug Voss is a registered representative. Securities offered through DHL Securities LLLP, member FINRA and SIPC.
Rhino Shield is engineered to outlast paint, formulated to outsmart the elements. Rain or shine, sleet or snow, mold or mildew. Our home exterior coatings intelligently designed to stand up to Mother Nature. Call 877-25-RHINO or 877-25rhino.com.
Columbo here for Agers Heating and Air Conditioning. We trust Agers with our home because their number one priority is doing right by the customer. Temperatures are changing outside, and as we transition from warmer temps to cooler ones, if you have any issues keeping your family comfortable, don't wait. Call the great team at Agers so they can address the issue before it gets worse. Because whether it's repairs or replacement, Agers is there with the clarity and attention to detail your home deserves. Contact Agers now at 636-242-6515 or through their website, callagers.com.
St. Louis's new choice for conservative talk.
Here's what the illiberal left does not get.
Live and local.
We're at least going to talk to the person who is on the ballot, and let's see how serious she is about running.
This is News Talk STL. Talk lines are open now at 314-912-1019. Get up, St. Louis. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning. Made in St. Louis for St. Louis. It's News Talk STL.
The violent crime issue is not unique to St. Louis. Okay, now what's unique to St. Louis that such a small city has such a high frequency, in particular, of murder. I mean, every morning you go in, and we don't do, if it bleeds, it leads conversations here, and I don't like it in news. I stopped doing that years ago, back when I was actually a journalist, when I was a reporter, when I was an anchor, and I've been in the talk aspect of it for a long time. But it's not unique here. It's an issue in New York State in the governor's race there. It's an issue in Illinois, in the governor's race as well, and the mayor's race in Chicago. It's an issue in Kansas City. It's an issue in Atlanta. It's an issue in Los Angeles. It's an issue at Portland. I mean, Seattle. You go on and on and on. So the challenge I had here was, okay, let's get real about it. I mean, all of us live in or around the city, and my house is about 3 blocks or so away from the city line. I'm very close to McCausland, which is the city-county line. My daughter moved downtown a couple months ago, and I didn't like it at all because of the crime rate in St. Louis. And I think, Paul, that is a normal reaction for a lot of people to say, I'm getting out or I'm not going in. So what do we do about it becomes the question.
Listen, that is such an easy question to answer. But the easy question to answer, the easy answer is this. You vote for people who recognize the problem and are willing to take the bold actions needed to enact solutions so we can, get away from those problems. The hard question to answer is this. What is it going to take to actually convince people? Because apparently the crime isn't doing it. The crime isn't enough.
Let's talk to Demetrius. Hey, Demetrius, you are on News Talk STL. What do you think?
All right. So we're basically trying to come up with a solution for the crimes and the killings, right?
Or solutions, plural, because it's not going to be just one.
Right. And I feel like we got to really understand what we're attacking here, because a lot of it stems from the city itself and the type of government and the type of people and the drugs and everything. Like, there's a lot of factors that play a part in crimes, and a lot of it is status and racism and poverty. Someone spoke about schooling. We don't really have many schools in the city of St. Louis. I'm a St. Louis City resident, by the way. I live in North St. Louis, the Greater Ville. There are not many schools on the north side at all in the city of St. Louis. They are all apartments now. Like, that forces people to move, because when you're looking for a place to live, the first thing you're looking for is a school district, right?
Yeah. Most of the time, yeah.
For your children.
Yeah.
So
that's the first thing we did, Demetrius.
So
that
limits like a need for it if people are not moving there. We don't have any quick trips on the north side of St. Louis. We don't have a Target. We don't have a Walmart. I think a lot of that got to do with census, because people didn't know what census was. But drugs is a major problem in the city of St. Louis. And I personally believe that because Missouri is one of the last states to abolish slavery, and that most of the people, melanated people in the city of St. Louis, are descendants of slaves, they have that mentality. The government system was built by slave owners. Like you guys said, let's be real, so that's being real. And it is a system that's been the same way for a long time. So putting someone in that system, will it really change things when they have to follow a certain structure? And a lot of them have dreams and aspirations of changing things, but when they get to the actual point of doing it, it's probably overwhelming and they don't understand it really. Like, it's not hard to get the vote of the people, especially if you're out and you're actually meeting people. But when you get there and what you do with the power is very important.
What should they do with that power, Demetrius? What should they do? Like, what is one thing policy-wise that you think would change the city of St. Louis for the better?
Resources. Mental health is a very big issue in all cities, in all of our communities. And a lot of mental health issues are not being assessed properly. People are just being locked up for it. So create some more resources. Like the city of St. Louis looks like trash. And it's for a lot of reasons. You spoke about other cities and how there are crimes in other cities too. I think it's part of the structure. Every major city has homeless people everywhere. Why? How? Is there too many homeless people for there to be rich people, or too many rich people for there to be homeless people?
I don't think it's a zero-sum game. I mean, rich people could still be rich and other people work their way up out of poverty as well. I mean, somebody else succeeding doesn't take away from my success.
That is correct, but the people who have the power and that are successful should be helping others to gain that, right?
I don't, but just say it again. I
agree with that.
Yeah, I'm not sure I tracked.
People that have power, people that are successful, you should be helping others to gain that. Like, there's too much of an issue with status, and that's where, like, robberies and stuff come from. People who are jealous and envious of people who have things that they don't have. That's where some of the murders come from. And then drug usage. People are on drugs, and they break into people's houses, or they steal and break into cars. Breaking into cars is a very big thing in St. Louis in general now, and that causes a lot of crime.
Hey, Demetrius, do you think that in your area in particular, do you think that they need to fund or defund the police?
That's an interesting question. So I wouldn't say defund the police. Police are useful, and that's coming from a person that has been treated terribly by police, but they're useful in some sense. But I think the people who are taking these positions need to be psychologically evaluated on a lot of levels, and they need to understand what they're actually getting into, because you hear these officers saying they fear for their life, but if you fear for your life as an officer, you should, but you are in the wrong line of work, because every day your life is in danger as an officer. But that's just the same as anybody being in the community. So I wouldn't say defund, but it definitely needs some tailoring. I think we need like a group of citizens, like an underwriting team that kind of assess situations with the police and kind of report things on how they do it, because internally police do not report each other. Internally, internal affairs don't do anything when police are doing things. They try to cover it up. So we do need some help in that area, but I wouldn't totally say defund the police.
I've got a question here for you, Demetrius. I got one more question for you, and it's this. Do you believe that people have opportunity to climb a ladder of success, find some kind of economic mobility to pull themselves out of their current circumstances if they don't like their current circumstances? Do you think that there's opportunity out there for people that want it?
Yes, but for some people in certain areas, there's less of opportunity, or there are a lot of obstacles to cross.
Okay.
Hey, Demetrius, just real quick, one more. You know, Cori Bush, she is a representative of a certain part of the city, and all she is a flamethrower. She's never put out anything for the people that was really impacted the local community. But she does flamethrower really, really well. And in my opinion, I think we need some other kind of representation there. Someone who's going to actually go into the neighborhoods and impact the actual people who are in those neighborhoods. What do you think we should do about that, as far as they keep voting the same person in that same position every single time, Demetrius?
Well, I'll say this. Cori Bush has been and does go into the community. I've seen her myself. I've seen her walk through door to door plenty of times. I think.
But what is she doing for the community? That's what I want to know from you.
So as far as the position that she's in now, I'm not sure. I haven't really paid attention that close to dug in deep. I'm not sure exactly what she's doing, but that would be something that I would get into, and I will figure that out, because that is my community. But we need to rebuild a lot of things in the city of St. Louis. They are tearing down a lot of buildings, but we need some centers, some community centers, some better resources. The people that are being voted in, they actually need to have a decent campaign. They need to have people that work for them that really want change. A lot of people say they want change, and then they get into a position of power and start to get paid, and it doesn't matter anymore.
Right.
So, like, we need people that are passionate about it. We need people that are actually citizens of the city to be a part of it, because they live there. Like, we don't need anybody, like, even police, because most of the police that are St. Louis City police do not live in the city of St. Louis. So we need that to happen. We need more police that are from the city of St. Louis to be police officers.
All right, hey,
more government officials that are from the. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, yeah, we've got a clock constraint here as well with with the information segment we've got to get to. But I really appreciate you. Hey, I put the challenge out, said let's get real, and that's just what you did, man. So I appreciate you being on the program.
Yeah, good call. And Demetrius, you got to call back and think about what we were talking to you about and what you need to think about, and then call us back and let you know. Give us an update.
I will. I definitely will. Thank you.
All right, man. You have a good day.
That's Demetrius there. All right, it's 8:47 right now. 314-912-1019. We got room to talk. A lot of what he just said at the very end, it sounds like he's got a different perspective than we do on some of these things, but talked about people being in the community, wasn't really sure what Cori Bush was doing, but she was there, he saw her, and the people get into office and then don't make the changes they promise. Well, that's exactly what you're talking about.
And he understands that they need real change. They really need somebody to start doing some things.
All right, this is 1019-94.1 News Talk STL.
For podcast articles and more, find us on NewstalkSTL.com. Follow us on Rumble at NewstalkSTL. Get up. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, 99.1 HD3 and NewstalkSTL.com. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Traffic Center.
There are no major delays, although we are backing up 5570 eastbound approaching 162. That's road work. 55 north is heavy, Virginia through Gasconade, but it's opening up. 270 north is in pretty good shape. Doherty Ferry to Manchester is busy, but that's about it. 64 east, likewise. McKnight to Big Bend still had some heavy pockets. Poplar Street Bridge Complex downtown is just fine, so all in all, not too bad. This report sponsored by Blindster. Blindster.com offers custom-made blinds, shades, and shutters shipped directly to you at prices lower than the big box retailers. Blindster Blinds, easy to install, guaranteed to fit. Don't overpay for new blinds. Shop Blindster.com. I'm Joe Sonderman, and that is your very latest from the News Talk STL Traffic Center.
Columbo and Katie.
Monday marks 50 days to the midterm elections. Unbelievable. It's going to be here before you know it. Tune in, and Katie and I will get you all the news and info you need to start your week.
Weekdays at 2 on News Talk STL.
Missouri Wild Alchemy is a small, local, and family-owned business dedicated to providing Missouri medical marijuana patients with high-quality cannabis and education. They strive to provide an excellent experience with a professional and friendly approach. They want patients to feel comfortable and to help curtail the stigma of cannabis use by having a professional and well-educated staff. Missouri Wild Alchemy is a proud carrier of products from several Missouri cultivators and manufacturers. That's Missouri Wild Alchemy. Follow them on Facebook and Instagram or visit them on the web at MissouriWild.com.
Are you tired of hard chlorinated water drying your skin out, tasting bad, and ruining your fixtures? Jones Air and Water Treatment has a solution to this pollution. Our Hydratech H2O leaves you with great tasting, soft water at all fixtures in your home with one unit. Call Jones Air and Water at 636-899-1040 or visit us on the web at joneswater.com. You can be a filter or buy a filter. Jones Air and Water, 636-899-1040 or joneswater.com on the web. Call us now.
The Range St. Louis West is all about safety. That's why training is a critical part of what we do. No one wants to be in a situation where seconds count, but help is minutes away. But if that day comes, are you ready? No matter what your firearm experience level is, we have courses and instructors that can help. The Range St. Louis West is the area's premier training facility, shooting range, and all things firearms retail facility. Check us out online at therangestl.com or stop by and visit with our professional staff. The Range St. Louis West. Are you ready?
If you find yourself feeling out of place in the world, it's comforting to know conservative values haven't been abandoned everywhere.
The far left wants to destroy conservative values in America.
This is News Talk STL. Welcome home. Like us on Facebook at News Talk STL. Get up, St. Louis. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning. Made in St. Louis, for St. Louis. It's News Talk STL.
So apparently today is one of those sort of like not a holiday, but pseudo everybody
It's
talks
your
about
day,
it.
Mike.
Good morning, friends.
Welcome to the show.
Ahoy, matey, it be a glorious day.
Why are you talking like that?
It's National Talk Like a Pirate Day.
Talk like a pirate day?
I'm a pirate.
I'm a pirate.
Ahoy,
matey.
Yar!
Ahoy, matey.
Happy National Talk Like a Pirate Day, matey.
It's showtime.
Hi, matey. Welcome to the Mike Ferguson Show.
Since I had my eye surgery, and I'm wearing this eye patch, which apparently now famously or infamously was known around Busch Stadium with social media that went crazy on that. All right, I'm done with that. I'm done with that.
You guys talk like a pirate on air.
I guess I'm supposed to, because I don't watch a lot of pirate movies. So I'm supposed to say "arg" or something like that.
I think the whole last segment you should talk like a pirate. It is your day.
And I had people like, for the last 2 or 3 weeks, hey, Vic, how you doing? There's Vic here. And they were like, oh, Talk Like a Pirate Day is coming up. This is going to be your day. I'm like, guys, I don't like the eye patch, right?
But it's there.
It's there.
Not like
I might as well lean into it, right? I mean, you know, we've already had the snake. What's the character's name?
Captain Jack Sparrow.
Yeah, well, the
was
snake.
Snake Plissken.
Snake Plissken from Escape from L.A.
Escape from New York.
You're in New York.
That is uncanny. Is that picture still up at NewstalkSTL on Facebook?
It is. Yeah, it's still up there. Yeah, we showed that too. I told you I had some family come in over the weekend. A couple cousins I haven't seen in like 10 years. And my cousin Tony brought a couple of his boys over, and my wife showed him the side-by-side comparison that Gabe put together, the one you're talking about. And even they were like, whoa, dude. The way high school kids talk. Well, one high school one just graduated high school. So, yeah, it really was kind of that very uncanny
It was even from the
resemblance.
same angle.
It was, yeah. Gabe was looking for the right angle for that. And so today's Talk Like a Pirate Day, and everybody has been telling me, like, this is your day. It's your day.
You're the first person I thought of when I saw that this morning. You kidding me?
Oh, man. So, well, hopefully just a couple more weeks with this thing, and then I won't be the pirate anymore.
When are you getting back to ball?
It's my my last team that was still alive in the playoffs lost on Saturday, so I am now done. And that's what is kind of weird because, I mean, obviously I couldn't play the rest of the year, and I'm not going down to Florida. But it's like we're looking at each other like, man, now it's over. It's over now. So hopefully I'll be ready for preseason in January.
Doctors say that's okay?
I'll know more on Thursday because the doctor told me it'll be he said 3 or 4 steps before we know for sure. Hopefully, I got to follow up with the surgeon on Thursday, like I said. Hopefully, I'll be cleared to do working out. At least getting back into that because right now I'm not supposed to do anything.
Does it hurt?
I get headachy when I get tired because one eye's doing all the work, and so they're like, yeah, you're just going to get headaches because if I didn't have the patch on, then everything's blurry. Yeah. But I've got the one eye doing all the work, so my hope is that I can at least start focusing on cardio shape and get back into weightlifting and all that kind of stuff, and then gradually. And I've been very disciplined. I've not been going crazy on this because I don't want to mess this up. But hopefully I can do our preseason, workouts starting in January. So for those who are maybe new to the show, I play in the adult baseball leagues. And, we've got a 43 and over league and a 40 and over league and a 30 and over league and a 60 and over league. And I play in the 30s and the 40s and the 43s. And so, there's a lot of baseball, and we really love playing. And, man, I'd hate to think that I would miss that again. So,
you got to get back out there when you can.
Yeah, because I want to get a lot of RBIs.
There you go.
And I'm doing the best I can here, guys. What can I say?
You should close out the show as a pirate. I'm telling you, it's National Talk Like Pirate Day. I mean, you'll never have this opportunity again, hopefully.
It'd be the Mike Ferguson Show.
Right. Oh, good God. Good God. Oh, man. Vic, good weekend?
Good weekend. Yeah, it was good. Didn't really do much.
That's a good weekend.
That's a good weekend.
Yeah.
My couch is my friend on the weekend.
I went Friday over to O'Fallon over at Westhoff Park, and my 30 and over team won in the playoffs, and then meant we had to play again on Saturday. I say we. I mean, I'm just sitting on the bench. I can't do anything. And then Saturday we're over in Sauget, Illinois, and we lost, unfortunately.
Did they let you coach first base or anything?
I did that with my other teams, and this one I asked the manager, I said, well, you want me to get first base? Because there's 2 or 3 of us that can do that. And he goes, it's dark. I really do not want to risk you getting hit with a pitch or a foul ball or something like that. So he said, let's let the other guys do it. I kept the book. But we went to Sauget, and the team we played against had a former major league pitcher.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, Josh Outman, who had like 6 or 7 years in the bigs.
Wow.
And, it didn't go our way. It was 4-0. It ended up being a 4-0 game, and he pitched brilliantly.
It kind of seems like cheating.
Well, you got to wait so many years after leaving pro ball before you can play in our league. So, he met the requirements.
Okay.
It was a good, good game. 4-0 is not a blowout. It was a good game, but the guy just pitched the lights out of the place, So you watch it and you're like, oh, yeah, that's why he was in the big leagues. Now, that's very unusual in our league. So for those of you who are like, no, I want to play. Oh, no, I don't. No, that's rare that you get a former big league pitcher.
How long does somebody have to wait?
5 years.
Oh, 5 years.
5 years
Okay.
out of the big leagues to be able to play on there. So, it was good. I mean, most of the time it's just all of us who are a little bit older, and we just get out there and instead of playing tennis, we just play baseball.
So on a normal game, what's the top speed that a pitcher is pitching?
Some guys who do like they're all change ups and curveball, they could be around 60. And then other guys will get up around 70 for normal.
This
It's
guy
like
was throwing 80 or 90.
This guy was throwing in the 80s.
Right.
Yeah, so you're basically what you're looking at is you're looking at the medium speed in a batting cage.
Right on.
If you can deal with that, you can catch up to it. All right, 10 seconds. What's a big highlight today?
Brand new feature at 9:41. Kamala la la la.
I think it's Kamala Lala.
Kamala la la.
Vic Porcelli at 904 on 1019 94.1 News Talk STL.
Hey, Tony Colombo here for the great team at All Solutions Pest Control. All Solutions is the pest control company Christine and I trust with our home because they don't cut corners and they take the time and use the best products available to help protect your home at the highest level possible. Call All Solutions Pest Control today at 636-486-7888 and learn more about our special $67 introductory offer or visit us online at allsolutionspestcontrol.com.
If a pest-free home is your goal, call All Solutions Pest Control.
Hey folks, here's great news for active aging seniors. The Kanega Watch, the only medical alert smartwatch with built-in fall detection. Yeah, the Kanega Watch is much different than the other guys. It's a stylish, discreet watch you can wear all the time. Get help through the watch in one of 3 ways. Your voice, pushing the watch's alert button, or have the fall detection connect you to a U.S.-based 24/7 monitoring center who'll speak to you through your watch and can send help to your GPS location nationwide. And get this, it can do that even if you're not responsive. This is true 24/7 peace of mind for you and those that love you. Order your Kanega Watch with a full refund 30-day trial period. Call now, 800-413-7152. 800-413-7152. 800-413-7152. That's 800-413-7152.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at NewstalkSTL.com.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Rich Thomason. Huge crowds gathering in Windsor, England, awaiting the arrival of Queen Elizabeth's coffin following the procession from London's Westminster Abbey. That's where the late monarch's funeral was held this morning.
Britain and the world are laying the Queen to rest at a state funeral that draws presidents and kings, princes and prime ministers, as well as up to 1 million people lining the streets of London to say a final goodbye to a monarch whose 70-year reign defined an age. A day packed with funeral events in London and Windsor began as the doors of the 900-year-old Westminster Hall closed to mourners. Hundreds of thousands had waited for hours, many of them through cold nights, to file past the Queen's flag-draped coffin in a moving outpouring of national grief. Charles de Ledesma, London.
Ukraine accusing Russia of targeting a nuclear plant in Ukraine's south.
Closed-circuit video footage shows a powerful blast light up the night sky. Ukraine's nuclear regulator has published photos of shattered windows in nearby buildings. It said the explosion temporarily cut power supplies, but it added that all 3 reactors at the plants were operating normally